industrial hose. Plus, we have a full-service cylinder repair shop. Come see us on Hickman Mills Drive in South Kansas City or call and speak with one of our knowledgeable sales staff at 816-965-8925. Find us on the web at quadfluidpower.com. Quad Power Products. We've been solving our customers' fluid power problems over 25 years.
Wholesale Batteries is a proud supporter of Kansas City and all our local athletes. Watching the game at home or working from home, let Wholesale Batteries protect your man cave or workstation from power surges and outages. Residential, office, retail, and commercial clients rely on Wholesale Batteries' UP solutions. While the big game is on, you can trust Wholesale Batteries to protect you from any outages. Over 40 years serving Kansas City, the trusted brands offering the latest technology. Kansas City's largest battery supplier. Wholesale Batteries. The right battery the first time.
Why do I run? Is it because I'm driven? Because I love the challenge? God, no. I do it for the beer. If you're the kind of runner who does it for the beer, this summer you can get one on us with the Michelob Ultra Beer Run. Grab your run buddies and get out there because this summer there's beer at the finish line. Sign up at ultrabeerrun.com and trade your miles for beer.
Boulevard believes in easy indulgence. That's why they decided to put Tank 7 in cans. Their distinctly American twist on a classic Belgian-style farmhouse ale takes its name from the notoriously unpredictable fermenter where the signature beer's perfect combination of ingredients first came to life. You could call it fate. Their brewers call it Tank 7. Grab a 4-pack and treat yourself to a Tank 7 today. You deserve it. Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City, Missouri.
WHB Kansas City.
In the race for the American League wildcard position, Yankees are in Baltimore. They've opened up a 5-0 lead in the top of the third inning. Giancarlo Stanton has a 2-run home run this inning. It was immediately followed by Luke Voit absolutely pummeling a ball for Stanton, number 28, 5-0 Yankees over the Orioles. Tampa Bay a 1-0 lead in Toronto right now, top of the fourth inning. Rays got absolutely housed last night, 8-1. Tonight, Tampa's up 1-0. The Yankees begin the night with Toronto, the number 1 seed. Yankees and Boston are tied for the number 2 spot, each at a roughly 64 losses rather, in the 80-win percentage. Seattle is sitting 2 back. Boston is in Seattle tonight. Mariners took the opener last night. Oakland will play right now in Kansas City this hour. In the National League wild card chase, 5 teams fighting for 1 spot. Runner-up for the NL West will play host to the wild card game. Mets have a 2-0 home lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. The Rockies are leading the Atlanta Braves 2-1. Braves, of course, lead the division. Washington Nationals have a 1-0 home lead over the Miami Marlins. Pittsburgh Pirates still leading against Cincinnati. That score right now is 3-0. That game has gone to the top of the fourth inning. Dodgers and Giants, by the way, separated by 2.5 in the race for the NL top spot. NBA news, the league saying it is not going to require players to be vaccinated against COVID-19. League and the Players Association have been negotiating aspects of all protocols for the upcoming season, but it could make life hell for the unvaxxed players.
Hey, it's Greeny Wednesday. We're steamrolling towards week 2 of the NFL season. I'll have Rob Ninkovich in my studio talking about the Bears and Patriots, and Matt Berry with the fantasy advice you need. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN Plus.
Isn't this a sports show?
How do I make a button work over here?
Do I need to come in there?
No, absolutely not. Not allowed.
I don't know what you've done.
At the commercial break, by the way, we'll fix this. We'll Freaky Friday our way back.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe.
Will we?
I don't know.
Almost entirely.
How do I play
just click
clicky button?
Click, you just click part one 3 of the has to be on, you click on it. What did you do?
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Which hotkey are you clicking? What are you trying to click?
I don't want to tell you. Don't come in here, Beers. No, Beers, go away!
But see, if you don't, I know you don't want to tell us, but at some point, you kind of have to give us something.
I'm trying not to hit the breaking news
one,
and it's not playing.
It's cart 3 up.
Yes.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, hi, Jason.
Hey, ask Jason.
So why isn't this playing?
Oh, it's because this is old audio. It's being rejected. You have jammed up the whole. I need to reboot it.
See, I asked you if there was text in the top left corner.
April Fool's, Jason.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It has been too long. Woo!
That was wild.
It was. The one that I launched went straight up and right back down again.
I felt like it had a little oomph in it.
A little power, a little oomph to kick off a Tuesday edition of Almost Entirely Sports. I don't know if I usually did this last year, but this one worked so well that I'm able to fully just drape the... that was a party popper for those of you who are only listening to this show, which is 98% of people probably, and not currently watching live. The party popper after a Chiefs victory is an Almost Entirely Sports staple. And these are a couple of powerful ones, just as Sunday's game was a powerful one. Welcome into Almost Entirely Sports. I am Joshua Brisco. Rudy Salazar has moved to the other side of the glass for this evening's broadcast as Beards McFly has graduated. We said goodbye to him last episode last week. He's moved over to the zone. So right now, a two-man operation as Rudy, again, slides over. Rudy's kind of our Tyrann Mathieu. Although I think we actually decided at one point that he's more of our L'Jarius Sneed. Can still do a whole lot of things, but on that pesky rookie contract, big
Bad
difference.
news for Sneed.
I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see. There's still a lot to play out there. But it's the two of us for tonight's show. It won't just be the two of us all night, though. We've got a Seth Keysor Tuesday. He'll join us at 9 tonight, as he does every Tuesday here to break down, in this case, an actual game. I know he's got a lot more that he still wants to get through from the film review side of things, but he's got one piece up right now on the Chief in the North newsletter. So we'll talk to Seth at 9. Also, we'll get a little bit of a look ahead to next weekend with Joe Wiz, JoeWizSports.com, or at Joe Wiz Sports, wherever you get your various social media handles. And we'll look ahead to some of the lines and some of the best bets you could be making as we look ahead to next week's action. And I don't understand it, Rudy. You might have to explain this to me. I'm looking at our notes here, and it says sad fans on Reddit at 8, and that's confusing to me because that's a Beards McBit. That's a bit McFly. And Beards is dead to us.
First I'm hearing about this.
So I don't know.
I didn't type that in the notes.
I don't know if there's a spirit in the Google Doc. I don't know if there's a Ouija board that we can use that we're going to have to use to get the set. What if we had to get every comment?
Ouija.
Ouija. What if we had to get a Ouija board to get every letter of the comments from sad fans? And it's just,
starting now. Have a good night, folks, because you won't hear from us for 3 hours.
It's going to take the next 3 hours. Hold on, I'm getting it right now. Hold on. TONYROMO.
You already lost me.
WANT. No, I'm not gonna. No, this is gonna get dirty. Every single opposing team hates Tony Romo whenever he is calling a game with Patrick Mahomes. This has become a verifiable fact across various matchups at this point. And I'm not gonna make a start here, but I watched most of last night's game via Manning Cast on ESPN, and it was so funny to watch. Really, both Mannings and most of the guests, but especially Peyton, was just rooting for the offense at all times, which I get, which is kind of how I watch football that doesn't involve the Chiefs often. I'll just root for the offense, but sometimes you get fantasy involved or sometimes whatever. But like Thursday night football with Bucks Cowboys, which was such a good way to kick off the season. I was just rooting for just straight offense the whole time. That's how Peyton was doing it during the Manning Cast last night. And watching him be so exasperated at Derek Carr and then have his mind blown by Lamar Jackson and then to be excited about Derek Carr moving down the field in like 2 chunk plays to get that game back, it was a wonderful experience. But what I don't think most people are realizing is that a lot of the commentators they always feel like they're rooting for the other team because you're just kind of rooting for fun, exciting things to happen. And Patrick Mahomes is really good at making other broadcasters do that because it is an inevitability. It is Thanos-ian. Is that a word? Thanosian. I like that. It is a Thanosian level of inevitability that Patrick Mahomes is eventually going to do something that is going to make Tony Romo go, "How about that one, Jim? What a throw!" You can't stop this kid. What did that impression turn into just then? What? Is there a Jerry Seinfeld? What happened there? What's the deal with Patrick Mahomes? You can't stop this kid. I drive expensive cars. I drink coffee. I'm super rich. I don't know where Jerry Seinfeld, Tony Romo crossover came from. I'll have to think about that one. But
sorry, my computer started having problems. That's why I spaced out for a second.
No, that's
I'm good.
fine.
I got it fixed.
That's okay. I wasn't really even playing to you on that one. I just I just realized that my shouting, exasperated Tony Romo just has shades of Jerry Seinfeld in it. That's all.
Airplane food.
Jim, what's the deal with airplane food? Going the other way now. I don't think it's working. But we did the whole post-game show, so I've already broken down some of these things. And if you missed any of that, by the way, it's all podcasted both in the additional programming section of 810WHB.com, but it's also up on the AES feed. So if you're subscribed to Almost Entirely Sports, wherever you get your podcasts, I think we're just going to keep chucking the post-game show up there as well, so you have another chance to catch that if you need it to hold you over, because we're not going to have any Monday shows as long as Monday Night Football is going on. So trying to keep the podcast feed loaded with some good stuff. But if you listen to that, you already got some of the like immediately after the game feelings from me. And if not, here's some of them again. Because I've now sat on this game for a good long while. And the one thing above all else that has stuck with me that I just cannot see going away anytime soon is the simple fact that if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you get to watch football games completely differently than anyone else. Maybe Buccaneers fans. I would say Packers fans, but it was not good for Aaron Rodgers in week 1. And this also struck me as I was listening to the Le Batard show today, because they were just talking about some NFL stuff, and eventually they ended up talking because Mike Ryan, one of their like executive producers, a Browns fan, he came to Kansas City for the game. It was very complimentary of even a victorious Chiefs crowd, which I thought was kind of cool. But they made the point that if you are just simply a neutral, unaffiliated sports fan, what would you want more than anything else? If you could just be a fan of any one thing in American sports, what would it be? And it wasn't even a question. There's nothing better in sports right now than to be a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. Because even whenever you're down at halftime, even whenever the game is very much still in question, in doubt even, whatever, it doesn't matter. None of it matters because your quarterback is Patrick bleeping Mahomes. How good is that? They mentioned the Golden State Warriors, and it really is Golden State Warriors E. If you were a Warriors fan a few years ago and you were down by 20 at halftime, you could be up by 15 by the end of the third quarter, and no one would even be surprised. Because you can just rain down threes for a quarter, play decent defense, and that game is over in the other direction after like 15 real-time minutes. The Chiefs have that, and it's under contract for the next decade. It's just such a good time to be a fan of this football team. And, this is pretty self-aggrandizing, pretty self-involved for all Chiefs fans, but I'm assuming that most everyone listening right now is one. It really feels good to have that while remembering that we kind of thought that maybe Tyler Thigpen or maybe Brody Croyle would be the guy that would help us get that good feeling at some point. And Brody Croyle was not going to do it. Even your excellent retreads like a Trent Green or an Alex Smith, right? We went through all of that process. And I won't do this every Tuesday after a Chiefs win for the rest of the season, but it struck me again today and over the course of the last couple of days that we saw so much bad football, and we were on the other side of that as a city so many times, where Peyton Manning would come to town, where Tom Brady would come to town, or the Chiefs would go to one of them and just grind out a messy, bloody 9-point lead. And then give up a 75-yard touchdown, fumble the ball, give up another touchdown, and all of a sudden the game is essentially over. Where you spent 30 minutes of football where Tamba Hali would use his face as a battering ram to try to save you a couple extra yards, where Jamal Charles would launch his knees into outer space to fight for a first down to get yourself a 6-point lead that would be erased in the blink of an eye. And now the Chiefs do that to other teams, and I like that side better.
It doesn't get talked about enough, in part because I would say like our curse was never as long as some very notable ones.
Browns, Lions, Red Sox.
But like,
kinda, yeah.
I watched Marcus Mariota throw a touchdown pass to himself in a playoff game. I watched I don't even know how to fully explain the forward progress stopped because it was just a tackle.
I kind of forgot about that one. That one still hurts a little bit.
I watched a football bounce out of a running back's hand like a basketball into a quarterback's hand, who then leaped over a pile for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I have seen the Chiefs lose in the most miraculous ways in the playoffs. And that just doesn't happen with Patrick Mahomes anymore.
And
it just doesn't happen.
They are the boogeyman for the rest of the AFC.
And like, I know a quarterback throwing a touchdown pass to himself has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes, but that's not going to happen to a team that plays against Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
You are not going to get that kind. Like, it just does. Have you ever seen anything like that happen to? I mean, I guess it happened to Brady once, and that was the Nick Foles catch, right? Like
David Tyree, it's happened twice.
True.
I'll give him 2.
Okay, yeah, it can happen. But it doesn't happen often.
I think even beyond that, first of all, it doesn't happen often. 100% agree. But even beyond that, most of the time if it does by some Ouija board miracle, then Tom Brady does something stupid. Then Tom Brady throws the ball into Gronk's open mouth for a 75-yard touchdown.
It's not nearly
4
as
seconds later
deflating as it is when you don't have Mahomes, right?
Because it kind of does. It's not that scary.
Yeah, and I think and like as a fan, we feel that way, and I imagine the players have to feel that way too, just because there is this sense of it's not a oh no, it's happening again. It's just like oh, that was weird, but we're fine.
Right.
We're gonna go because the offense is gonna go score a touchdown.
And there are so many instances of that we've seen. Like, there's like too many to just sort of rattle off right now, where you just go, yeah, they were down by 12 and it didn't matter. It's unbelievable. Specifically in this game, it's crazy because I could spend the next hour praising the Browns and really, really mean it, genuinely. And we'll come back around to a bunch of other things. And also, I see the Twitch chat has exploded today, so I'll try to.
Love those Chiefs.
I'll need a commercial break probably for us to sift through some comments and stuff. But feel free to.
Ice Pyro agrees that watching Peyton lose his mind was hilarious.
It was fun, man. I really liked it.
I didn't.
We will
I
circle
didn't
back
watch
to that.
it, but like, and I think because I'm in a spot where I will be here working Monday Night Football games now, but it is a very good time to because
you said that pretty confidently.
I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
I got that luxurious Snead value here.
Okay.
But I've got enough screens that having that up and watching that, because I know people kind of there's a little bit. It's not nearly as bad as with Brady, where people don't like Manning's because especially they're good.
Mm-hmm.
The Manning family is the first family of football. They are wonderful people. I enjoy listening to all of them. Archie, Peyton, Eli, give me all of them. And Arch, you can be on the show as well. You're the hopefully future. Just as long as he doesn't commit to Tennessee, that's all I care about. Arch, if you're listening.
It's not
you
Tennessee.
16-year-old quarterback with the god of an arm.
Yeah.
Do not go to Tennessee.
Consider Kentucky even.
Well, I don't want to get greedy. Football's cool though.
Certainly not
going to go to Mizzou.
I want to talk more about I want to talk more about the Manning cast later because there's some good stuff there that I really like. That very much. I'm guessing most people that like this show probably enjoyed the Manning cast for some reasons that I guess I'm going to unhumbly compare us to the Manning brothers. I don't think that's quite fair. But just in terms
Cooper? Well, that would have been a better joke.
We're both
a third.
We're both Cooper. Yeah, for sure. There's some sensibilities that came through in that I really liked. We'll circle back on it. But for me, in the addition of the things that do and don't happen to the Chiefs now, and the comebacks and all that stuff. The other thing that is just so fun to me, and this is also a major topic in Seth's piece that we'll talk to him about tonight at 9. But I want to I genuinely want to give a whole bunch of credit to the Cleveland Browns really quickly, because first of all, they are legit, and frankly, right now, I wouldn't hate betting on them to win the AFC North. And even though they're 0-1, the Ravens losing to the Raiders last night was very funny. But we talked about the Manning cast before we talked about the fact that the Raiders are also 1-0. The entire AFC West, by the way. And the Ravens are going to drop to 0-2 unless they can beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football this week. Hoof, what a start. But the Browns came to Kansas City with a ton of talent and a great plan. And they executed it really well for a long time. And this is what I think is so interesting about this game. And there's a lot that's interesting about this game. But their first real choices in this game on Sunday, they took a really smart couple of risks. You're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce by just playing your most average football. Even really good average football. I mean, average just in terms of how you typically do it. You can bring your A game of your style to Kansas City. And I think maybe unless you're the Bucks, and even then, I don't know, you're not going to be able to straight up beat the Chiefs. But both teams just playing standard. The Browns are relatively close. They did this without Odell Beckham. Obviously, the Chiefs are out there without Willie Gay, still on IR, Tyrann Mathieu, and Frank Clark. Mathieu is going to play this week. I feel pretty confident. Keep it on the practice reports, I guess, but fully expect Mathieu to play. It was just a conditioning kind of post-COVID thing. It seemed like he was close to going as well, but Andy Reid would like for him to practice. I get it. Frank Clark, I'm not holding my breath. He sounded relatively optimistic yesterday in his press conference. Andy Reid did about Clark playing this week. Dude's been dragging around a hamstring injury since the first third of training camp or something. I'm not saying that I have some inside information that he's going to miss a whole bunch of time or whatever. I'm guessing they expect to see him within the first 3 weeks. Otherwise, you could IR him and get his roster spot. It's just hamstrings are a nagging injury, and his has been nagging for a month now, maybe longer. I think it is probably longer. This is before any of the preseason games. So I'm just not holding my breath on Frank Clark. If he's out there, sweet. If he's not, I'm not going to plan on it. Anyway, I digress. Both of these teams missing important parts, obviously. But the Browns come out, and they get deep into Chiefs territory, and at the Chiefs 15 on 4th and 3, they, without hesitation, go for it, convert it, and put themselves in a great situation. They then score a couple carries later, line up for the extra point. Chris Jones hops off sides, encroachment on him, makes it a 1-yard 2-point conversion because it's half the distance to the goal. They go for that, and then all of a sudden, you're 7 minutes into the game, and they're up 8-0. Now, if I could real quick, and I can, because I can make these decisions, and Rudy's not going to stop me. Rudy is not going to stop me on this one. I can feel it. I mentioned that they took up 7 minutes there, and like the Chiefs only had
one more almost.
Oh, sorry, the break.
No,
this is so weird.
Can't. It's like Beards is still here. The Chiefs did only end up with 3 possessions in that first half, which is crazy. Not sure that ended up really benefiting the Browns one way or another. But I mentioned the long drive there. 7 minutes is an interesting note for a single drive, but 8 points is what matters. They could have had a 6.5-minute drive and then kicked that field goal on 4th and 3, and this drive would have been a waste of everybody's time. But they just grind down the field, and it gets them to 8 points. That's huge. That is a couple of very smart, calculated risks that the Browns then pulled off. The Chiefs then follow that up with a long drive, 6 minutes of their own, and they do the exact thing that the Browns could have done but were too smart to do, which is that the Chiefs get the ball on 4th and 2, and with a shiny new offensive line, a first-round draft pick running back, the best tight end and best receiving tight end at least in the NFL, and an impossible-to-cover Tyreek Hill, and Andy Reid's playbook. And Andy Reid, despite Patrick Mahomes visibly waving in a play, they kick the field goal. And that's a bad call. It's simply a bad call. I'm not asking for an argument. I'm not asking you what your thoughts are. I'm telling you that is a poor decision. You have the O-line, in theory, the running back. You're carrying a fullback. Later in the game, Blake Bell had a sneak, which was great. Love that. Do that more often. It was 4th and 2, deep in the Browns' territory, and you settle for 3 points there. That's embarrassing. The counter-argument that I'm sure Andy Reid would have said, no one asked him about it, which is a little disappointing, if I'm being honest. But Andy Reid's argument probably would have been early in the game winner to get points. You're down by 8, and it is early in the game, which means you've got a larger margin for error. And if you know you need to get 8 points, or you can tie the game, or you want to get it down to a 1-point game, whatever, just find that out then. You're basically hitting snooze on making any impactful decisions. Make your impactful decisions early on, and if it goes great, then you have a leg up. If it goes poorly, then you can adjust for that later in the game. Anyway, that bothered me, and no one's really talking about it because they have Patrick Mahomes, and they erased the whole lead anyway. So good for them, I guess.
It would have been annoying if they had done it, even if the score was 0-0.
Yes.
I just don't know how you do it after seeing the Browns not only go for it on 4th down and converting a 4th down, but then also getting a touchdown and going for 2 and getting 2. It is now an 8-point game, right?
And your defense looked like poo-poo.
Yeah, again, I'd be annoyed if it was 0-0 opening drive of the game, but I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a decision that was bothering me necessarily all game long, right? I kind of would have shrugged it off, there's Andy Reid, the incredibly innovative offensive mind, who sometimes is just kind of an old school football guy, and sometimes just makes those decisions. I just don't know how you watch the Browns do what they did and then decide, yeah, you know what, we're just gonna kick a field goal here.
It's really
that feels good.
It's really frustrating. The closest you could probably get for me is if the Browns would have kicked a field goal and you wanted to tie it back up again before you gave them the ball back. But at that
still
point,
annoying, but
just go take why don't you take a 4-point lead? Because you think Patrick Mahomes can get you 2 bleeping yards. Of course you think he can do that. It's Patrick Mahomes in this offense. You only think he can get 2 yards on a play? What are we doing? Anyway, I had a guy tweet me at halftime, and I've mentioned this now multiple times, and I'm going to do it one more time because it really annoyed me because not only was it angry and dumb. It was also lazy. Sorry if you're listening, sir. Your tweet was bad, though. So, I mean, it's fair game, I think. Someone tweeted me and said, at that halftime, as they were down 22-10, the Chiefs were down 22-10. Somebody tweeted me and said, no matter how much you say, the time of possession doesn't matter. It does. Because if you don't have the ball, it forced Patrick Mahomes to be perfect, which I don't know what that means. But no matter how much you say it doesn't matter, it does matter. Chiefs down 12 points at this point, okay? Down 12 points. I had not tracked time of possession because it is useless and dumb on its own, right? I'll circle back on it. But I went and looked. I said, you know what? I wonder what the time of possession even was here. The Browns had the ball for 15 minutes and 36 seconds, and the Chiefs had the ball for 14 minutes and 24 seconds. The Chiefs were down by 12 points and possessed the ball for about a minute less. So it's
time of possession, baby.
A really crappy place to claim that time of possession actually matters, because time of possession had that game being tied at halftime. Like that, those are the tweets that do. I mute a decent chunk of people that I feel like are just trolling, and this guy I don't think was trolling. I think he was just genuinely unaware of what he was looking at. Yeah, those are the tweets that actually annoy me the most, because they are they're aggressively lazy. Where the answer to your question is so close, like you're not bringing anything to the table. If you want to bring an argument on something, and like, please don't. This show is not First Take, and neither are my Twitter mentions. Okay, so don't even worry about it. But if you go like, hey, here's what I think about this thing. What do you think about this thing? I like to try to respond to people on that front and everything. But if you just go, yeah, time of possession does matter. See, they're down by 12 and they're getting crushed. Actually, they're not. You could have looked that up and saved yourself the embarrassment by just going to ESPN's box score.
That's the thing.
They track that in real time on ESPN.com.
You got to look that up first.
You got to.
You can't come in and be like, again, if you don't know the time of possession, you can come in and be like, hey, I maybe think, and try to have an actual conversation. That's fine. But you can't come in like, hey, no matter how much you think time of possession doesn't matter, you dummy. It matters when it was basically tied.
Right. That's right.
Like, you got to look that up first, and then you wait for your moment when the Chiefs are losing, and there's like a 6-minute difference in the time of possession, and then you tweet at you.
Sure. And then I'll still explain why it doesn't matter, and there are other factors that led to that, because time of possession's a useless stat in a vacuum. But yeah. The one thing with time of possession that is...
Don't have the ball, you can't score.
Right. And the Chiefs,
Facts.
whenever, hold on, let me just see really quick here. Let me just go ahead and try to grab a couple of these little suckers.
When the Chiefs score a touchdown in a minute 30, that touchdown, I don't know if you know this, Josh. I think the average football fan doesn't know this. It's actually worth less points than a touchdown that takes 8 minutes.
Yeah, so the Browns had...
The scoreboard says the same number, but like the secret scoreboard is different.
You know how the Browns went on that 9-play, 75-yard drive that took up 5 minutes and 8 seconds, and then the Chiefs had one play for 75 yards and 14 seconds? Yeah. Common misconception, but yes, actually, those touchdowns do count for the same number of points.
On the regular scoreboard, but if you look at the secret scoreboard,
right,
it's different. Like last year, I know the NFL, it was Chiefs, Buccaneers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but in the secret NFL, which is really what matters, right? It's like the secret underbelly of the government, right? That's right. That's where things are really happening. It was the NFL Titans deep state versus the 49ers. They run the ball. They like to run.
Sure, they do.
And it was just Derrick Henry and Raheem Mostert, just ground and pound, baby.
It was great television. But I like to think that we've gained new listeners over the last number of months or whatever. It's probably been a little bit since I've talked about some of this. So I'll give you a quick little nugget, then we'll take a break and we can talk about some other things from this game. But one thing, I know this is going to strike people as shocking, especially if you listen to this show. I try not to be. I very, very much try not to be like rude or dismissive to people who are actually trying to learn something or have a conversation, which again might not have come through whenever we call that guy dumb for the last 5 minutes. But it's because he came looking for a fight, and he came with one of those Looney Tunes guns that the barrel points back at yourself.
Or just says bang.
It just not even. It didn't even fire. It just made he brought a party popper to a gunfight. But two little misconceptions that I think we can just try to make people a little smarter on. You will see that generally teams that quote unquote win time of possession often do win the games. That is generally speaking because if you are holding the ball late in the game, let's say you're up by 8 and you've got 7 minutes left, in that case, a nice 6.5 minute drive really does mean something because you're limiting the chance for the other team to make a comeback because they only have so much time whenever they get the ball back. Or you want to just end the game with the ball in your hand. At that point, you're trying to actively stay in bounds instead of stepping out. You're running the ball maybe whenever you would otherwise throw it. You might see a quarterback take a sack a yard behind the line of scrimmage instead of throwing a pass that is likely to be an incompletion. You can play the clock game late in the game if you have the lead in any number of ways, which will ultimately, it will show you, what team that wins time of possession wins the game X number of times. You're doing the work backwards.
You can even play that a little bit, not quite as much to even the end of the first half, right? If you're there's 5 minutes left and you're like, hey, we want to work this clock to where we score a touchdown and then we get the ball back.
Yep.
You may intentionally just burn off more time than you especially with the Chiefs. They're an offense that can score 90 seconds. They may just be like, hey, we're going to try to run this drive a little slower because it's beneficial for us.
I mean, a ton of people were saying the Chiefs should have used that timeout before the Browns' last play of the half, so they could have 15 seconds to try a one-play 75-yard drive. Andy Reid chose not to. He said yesterday that he wasn't feeling it, and whatever, man. The Browns almost scored on their little Wildcat Hail Mary little
when Jarvis
shindig.
Pitched it all of a sudden to Baker, and it was just there were just no Chiefs player on the screen. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, it was a
lot.
lot.
The Tyreek Hill versus the Cowboys started flashing in the head a little bit.
Yup, I didn't care for it. But that's where you will see time of possession come through. It's also why you see stats of, whenever the Chiefs run the ball for 100 yards, they're whatever and whatever. Their record is great when they do that. Or teams that run the ball more are more victorious more often. There was a great data visualization. I think I brought this up in the postgame show, and I think it was from the Cowboys stats and info, whatever it was, account. I'm going to try to find it during the break. Not the official Cowboys account, but that's the name of the account that does a lot of the analytics from this. And there is a diversion where later in a game, the team that is winning starts running the ball way more often, and the team that is losing stops running the ball. So it becomes really obvious there that the inflection point is not that good teams are running the ball a ton all game or possessing the ball for a long time all game, and that's why they win. Those are side effects of winning, not the reasons for the winning. And honestly, if football media got better at that, we would be in such a healthier place. We're not, because it's not. But that's the thing that I would ask you to keep in mind. And you can do this for a ton of stuff, by the way. Ask yourself the question, is this factor the reason that the team won, or is this factor a side effect of a winning team? I think it's a very interesting way to look at the sport. And then, I'll turn on NFL Network, and there'll be something about how the Ravens are going to have to grind and pound and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field and control the clock and, grind the Chiefs defensive line into a fine powder and snort them if they want to win on Sunday Night Football. And we'll probably have to have this conversation again all over again next week.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports.
good. Could hear the fan in the background. I said I was excited about Jared Goff, Carson Wentz. And was there one before that?
Yeah, a quarterback who I did not catch when I was previewing it, but I heard this time. Certain Houston quarterback.
Oh, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I said that I was glad
Some
that he's in the
problems.
league.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Some problems there.
I actually also didn't hear that one whenever you played it back just now. I could just tell there was like a spot that I said another
To be fair,
quarterback
I don't know if
name.
you said you were glad he's in the league, just you're glad that he was playing well.
Yeah, opinions change.
Yeah.
You get more information and
you just learn new stuff about people.
Holy smokes, the least problematic quarterback there plays in Detroit now. And none of those guys are currently playing football for the teams that they were playing for at that time.
Yeah.
Because Watson's just not playing at all. Wow, what a weird little blast from the past, huh?
They've all had their moments. Carson Wentz was looking like he might win an MVP. Jared Goff was looking like he might win a Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson was looking like he might be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. He probably still may also get that, but a little bit more dicey.
A little bit. The account that I was mentioning earlier is just at Cowboys Stats on Twitter, and their pinned tweet is the when Ezekiel Elliott gets 25 plus carries, his team is 19-4, and it's just a brilliant data visualization of when winning teams and losing teams run the football and how that changes things, and it changes because of game situations, which I think is worth being very aware of. A few things from the Twitch chat. You can watch the show in a lot of places. Also, apparently, my mom likes Rudy's new haircut. Rudy, I also like your new haircut.
Thank you.
This is very soccer player, very tight on the sides, very floofy.
It is
powerful choice.
Like the normal haircut that I go with, but it had been this was probably one of my longer like in between haircuts.
And you're thinking about going with a curveball at some point, also.
I might just like grow it out at some point. I thought about this time, but also I was just kind of like I really want my sides trimmed because it's just annoying me right now.
Deeply annoying.
So
I get that 100%.
I was like, let's just cut it for now. We'll deal with that in the future.
So if you want to see Rudy's hair or anything else with the show, you can watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube channels. Facebook.com/SportsRadio810, Twitch.tv/SportsRadio810, and YouTube.com/810WHB. Right now, I can only see the Twitch comments, but if Rudy finds anything else that is at least a compliment for him, I'm sure he'll pass it along.
Your mom likes my hair.
I mean, that's worth putting up there. Honey makes me happy on Twitch. At time of possession, just a lazy stat for announcers to fill time, and sometimes it's interesting how much it doesn't matter. I know that I'm risking feeding a fed horse, if you will, but by going back to this well all the time. But I just really do find it interesting that it's one of those things that has latched on still throughout analysis in the sport that really doesn't deserve to be around.
It's so closely related to just the whole what does a running back's value bring. That I think that's kind of where the tie-in is, right? Like, hey, it's still, some people are like, you got to run the football, right? That opens everything up. And time and possession, I think it's just naturally equated with running the football, even though you can win time and possession by a lot and just throwing the football.
Just throw the ball to Travis Kelce in the middle of the field and then run down the play clock before you snap it.
If the Chiefs just go Travis Kelce 12 yards at a time, they're going to win the time of possession. But it's just it's just so ingrained with with running backs in the running game. I think that's why. That's the reason why I think it's still alive to the degree that it is. And again, like you said, generally winning teams win the time of possession battle, but they're not winning because of that. It's just there's so many other factors that go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ice Pyro says time of possession wins you games is like saying ice cream causes crime because when ice cream sales go up, so does crime rate. Forget the fact that both happen in the summer. And actually, I disagree. I think we should arrest all ice cream salesmen, just personally. Fletch_NE on Twitch said, hey JB, why don't other folks at the station use this platform? It's an awesome way to connect to a younger audience and is virtually no extra work. Thank you, Fletch. It's a little extra work, I will say that on our end. We've put quite a bit of work into trying to make it as good a connection point as possible, but I really appreciate everybody that engages through the show that way because we think it's awesome to have. We think it's very valuable. I can't speak for anybody else, but it always makes me very happy when other people enjoy the show that way. So, I don't know where things end up. I don't know what the future looks like. That's what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do, is to have this show in as many places as possible, as many formats as possible, where you can see a stuffed wiener dog on the console named Dick Justice. That's what is important to me.
It's really just because we're just best hair on at the station.
Wow.
So like everybody else, like, we can't be on Twitch because, you know, they'll
bald
just compare
spots,
them to us. Yeah.
thinner hair.
That's all. That's what it comes down to.
Wow, I hadn't even considered that.
It's really a looks thing.
As we've been called before, you know, the 3 hottest dudes on Twitch, and now it's 2 of the hottest dudes on Twitch now because Beards is dead to us. So, I appreciate that. So
wasn't here for a long time, but he was here for a good time.
I disagree. I would say he was here for a long time, but was not necessarily here for a good time. I'm glad we fired him.
We were offered right of first refusal. That's what we'll say.
For Beards?
Yeah.
I don't think we were.
I mean, that's just what we're gonna say.
Oh, okay. I like that we just say we fired him. Somebody has brought up the idea of an AES bingo board. Captain K9 says everyone have time of possession and running backs don't matter on their AES bingo board. And now there's some conversation about making up a AES bingo board. I love that. I don't know what all needs to be on there, but I think that, obviously those are up there. By the way, watching the Ravens last night, even though they've lost their top 3 or 4 running backs, it did seem like their running game continued to really thrive, both with Lamar Jackson and their 4th-string running back, who no one's ever heard of, who's about to become a fantasy superstar. It's almost as if running back... You know what? Never mind.
But they got 2 highly drafted running backs on the practice squad.
That's true.
That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
And they got a defensive back there. He's a good athlete. That was a Lamar Jackson joke.
Bill Polian. People were asking, well, who's going to replace Beards? And the answer is Bill Polian. He's just going to sit back there.
That's an upgrade.
I would certainly make the show more interesting. I'm not sure that he'd be able to pick up on all of the bells and whistles.
You know what? I'll gladly give him the seat in there just to break down some NFL prospects.
How old is Bill Polian? 78.
A little younger than I thought.
Let's get him in here. I think it would be good for the show on kind of a notoriety basis. It would be bad for me and my mental health is what my guess would be there. As Wallaby suggests, Josh missing Bashad Breeland, Spag's impression. Captain K9 says he started making them. I heard on Lebitard earlier. Josh hates Clyde. That one's not fair. Anywho should definitely be an AES bingo square.
Yeah.
Bonkers, apparently. Do I say bonkers that much? I know I say it sometimes, probably more than most people.
Interesting.
I have a lot of different ways I can say that word. That one, interesting, is probably on there as well. Bye Mom is the free square in the middle, says Cat
Yeah, I was
Warrior.
going to say, because I was going to make the point that, the free square can't be a free square, but it has to be something that just happens literally every show. Bye Mom's perfect.
Yeah, that's good. So you put the emoji there if you want, even, I like that. I like the AES bingo card. We'll think about it.
It'd be fun.
See if we can come up with not getting to sound for sure.
We'll get to this.
Yeah, me teasing something that we don't get to is definitely on the board.
Within, I would say, that hour. Maybe just our show. Maybe it has to be the full show.
I think you can have the full show.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There have been a number of times whenever I have spent 45 minutes before the show cutting coordinator audio, and then at 9:57 I go, whoops, well, that's the show, everybody. Bye, Mom. And I think that deserves to be on there as well. I was gonna say missing Sports Center, but I don't. Beards is gone.
Well.
Honey Makes Me Happy says stepping on each other while
We're
talking.
Gonna miss a Sports Center.
There's 2 of them right there. Let's take a break.
At JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I went to BYU, so every down's a throwing down. I mean, that's how that goes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Aspen on Twitch mentions a visual gag and an audio medium. That one was
That's perfect.
Also 5 seconds into today's show because the party popper thing, maybe a little bit of both. I really do like talking over each other. That one is very good. Josh reads the internet, the polls. There are a lot of good recurring bits you can definitely go for.
We can make one very easy.
Absolutely. We have a wealth of, I was going to say, good stuff.
To be fair, when I say we, I mean our listeners, because let's be honest, we don't got time for that.
Oh, no, we're not going to make it. No, I mean, if one of you guys wants to make it and tweet it at me or whatever,
Absolutely
I'll retweet it.
we'll use it.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not going to do it. I need some Rudy-specific ones. Obviously, Beards could have had some, but he's no longer with us.
Just saying a word.
We're going to hear from the great beyond next segment. I would just stick around.
Do almost
Squeaky doors,
entirely
clogged
sports
sinks, finicky engines. When things break around the house, you take care of it. However, when something's off in the bedroom, you just try not to think about it. Come on, man, what are you waiting for? Take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/JakeG now. Why Roman? Because you get a free online evaluation and ongoing...
In the first 26 minutes of this show, everything went wrong on the production side. Not Beards' fault. All the equipment around him. He was captaining a ship with just like beach ball size holes in the hull.
The ship was A, on fire, B, getting invaded by pirates, C, had the Kraken trying to bring it down around it, and D, it also just got hit by lightning. E, it was also on a mountain.
With Joshua Brisco.
F, it was running Windows XP.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. There are F reasons that the first 26 minutes of this show is a hellscape.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Captain Canine on Twitch says I have 14 to 25 squares for the AES bingo card. GEHA Field, Pokemon, anything to do with Kentucky. Geha. PB&J.
Yeah, I thought it was really disrespectful how Andy Reid in his post-game press conference just mispronounced the field name like that.
Rudy knows where insert somebody no one has ever heard of went to college.
That's pretty good.
I like that one a lot. You can hear the fan in the other room. I like that one a lot.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Ooh, I like a guest mentions the liner coming back from break. Also, all very, very, very strong ones there. Okay, so this is sort of an odd way to do a radio segment, even for us. But Rudy, did you look in the sad fans on Reddit folder?
I did. I've looked a couple times.
Yeah,
so when you first mentioned it, I looked and there's nothing there.
Okay.
And then I just kind of checked it essentially once a break, and there was nothing there.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, there's obviously nothing there. And as the music was playing, I was like, I better just check one more time.
Sure.
There's something there.
Is there? What's the file name? Because I just think this has to be a glitch in the Matrix.
It's 9-14-21.
That's
Sad
today.
Browns.
Sad Browns fans.
Final, all caps.
Well, I
So
guess
it could just be sad Browns players, maybe.
Yeah, I would go ahead.
Maybe it's a collection of audio clips from them somebody put together.
I would go ahead and open up the file. You didn't make this, right?
No,
no, I did not. So because I wouldn't dare.
I would never.
Because sad fans on Reddit.
I'm too lazy for that.
If you're new to the show, which I guess you could be, because this is a bit that's been around for a little while. It started a few years back, and Beards McFly, flying high in heaven.
Never heard of him.
Beards McFlying in heaven now because he's dead to us.
Do we really think he's flying up above somewhere?
It's just Beards
because there's some work that he's done on this show that was just otherwise.
Beards McFlying to hell. Nathan Wilhell. Take him in.
Never heard of him.
So, years back, I think it was after that Bengals blowout a few years ago, Beards went into the Cincinnati Bengals subreddit and collected a bunch of things that very sad, very angry Cincinnati Bengals fans were saying about the game as it was happening and then once it was over. And that is when Sad Fans on Reddit was born. And so as you know, and you probably know, last week was Beards' last week producing almost entirely sports. He died and then ascended by one rung. I'm gonna say ascended by one rung up the heavenly ladder. That feels reasonable. I think that's fair, not disrespectful. I think the zone would be fine with that. And his spectral form is producing the zone now.
Ice Pyro says he got caught in the wheel of time.
Pretty good.
For people who don't know, that is the 14-book series that Beards loves so much.
Loved in the past because he's dead now.
In his wheel of time. Just trapped there.
So it was a great bit. Really a great bit. Maybe Beards' best creative work, on the history of the show, and something that we were sad to lose whenever he passed. But then I felt a cold chill well, this room is just pretty cold. And Rudy felt a warm chill because that room over there is pretty hot. And
it's very hot.
Then some of the stuff on the desk started moving around a little bit. And
that was the mice.
Rudy.
Just kidding. There's no mice in here.
Rudy went into the folder to see if anything was in there. And there was a Sad Fans on Reddit file.
Well, it just says Sad Browns. So I guess I don't know that it's Sad Fans on Reddit. It just says Sad Browns. But it is final. Final destination, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe this means it was his final. Maybe he predicted the end of the game.
Did you ever see The Ring?
No.
So the premise of The Ring is you watch this VHS, 7 days later, you're dead.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is going to be a similar thing, but it's the audio.
We hear this, and then 7 days later, we're hosting The Zone.
No, I'm not going to make that joke. I'll make the joke. It's not that bad of a joke. Can I die instead? It's not that bad.
I thought you were going to say a fate worse than death.
Ah, that would have been better.
It's so rude.
Chaotic Warrior says, Snowman Josh appears. That's good for the bingo card. Because it happens enough. It's not like a gimme, because you need some that are kind of difficult.
For sure. I think you might get a difficult bingo card for something produced by someone who is dead to us makes its way into the show. I guess, now you mentioned the Ring thing, I'm a little bit nervous, Rudy, because...
My first movie party I ever went to was to watch The Ring.
Really?
I was a scared boy back in the day.
Yeah,
I like scary movies now. I don't get scared anymore, but back in the day, I got scared.
I don't really bleep with that stuff. And so, I don't know. Whenever you hit this button to play this, which I think we should do, are we going to hear Beards' voice from the Beyond?
It can't be.
But if it's not
maybe
his
like
voice...
Lebo just did us a favor and made this.
Dude, I actually think that would be awesome.
It'd be pretty good.
I would like Lebo does Sad Fans on Reddit. But I guess we ought to play it and see what it is. Again, Beards has passed on, but there was a new Sad Fans on Reddit in the folder today. When everybody opened it this last time, it had finally just magically appeared.
It just says Sad Browns. Doesn't say anything about fans.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess. Let's hit it and see what happens.
And now, a list of things that Cleveland Browns fans
this voice seems
said
familiar.
on Reddit after blowing a lead to the Chiefs.
I can't quite put my finger on
So
it.
we just going to ignore the Chiefs O-line holding on every play?
That seems
KC
crazy.
benefiting from dirty feels just like last year. Anyone surprised Chiefs already getting calls their way?
The ref stuff is the
What
worst.
call?
Kill Mahomes. Steve Hardy said it first about Brady. It's lawless land now.
Huh? Probably the
Romo
best
is
defense.
passing me off. It's a shame you can't hit Mahomes because you'll get ejected if you do. Careful, Romo. You don't want Mahomes to bust a before halftime. I thought a fan's head was blocking my view. Turns out it's Romo's for the Chiefs. Romo can suck my They're f***ing losing. You'd think it was 400-0 with his dumb commentary. This game is making my sweaty. Mahomes constantly looks like he wants to cry. Such a whiny jinxed it. I thought, man, it's a good thing Chubb never fumbles as he ran into that crowd. Sad Chubb noises. Someone tell Joe Woods who Travis Kelce is. You know what they say. Don't fumble the ball when you're only up by 5. I wonder if the defense will actually do something now instead of just letting Hill and Kelce do whatever they want. I bet $1,000 that Nance and Romo each other off every commercial break after the Chiefs do something good.
This Ghost is playing pretty fast and losing the rules.
Yeah.
Kind of wishing an underrated Ronnie Harrison
We
was
can't
still
get
in
in
the
trouble
game.
if it's
He's
a
a huge
Ghost
part of
now.
our back end and has the size-speed combo to at least slow down Kelce. Response. He has to let himself be shoved by a coach, apparently. Browns still unsure about Hill and Kelce. Time to chunt on these barbecue 10-minute rushing drive incoming.
Did you say
Editorial
chunt?
comment by Beards
Chubb
Play
hunt.
here.
Oh, Chubb
if I remember
hunt.
correctly,
Gotcha.
the next thing that happened was
Gotcha.
the fumble.
It's pretty good.
I think
I
it was
like
the
that.
fumble. Comment. I missed these extreme mood swings. Reply. I'm sure my psychiatrist doesn't. Can't believe we wasted our best year trusting Joe Wiz.
I assume that's the defensive coordinator.
I am suffering immensely. Comment. Jamie Gilligan walk into the sea challenge. Response. Can we leave him there? When was the last time we covered a tight end? Like 1973? Comment. Curse the football gods with every atom of my being. Response. At this point, it's sports gods because this ain't just a football problem. Scottish Hammer is such a stupid nickname for the most mid punter in the league.
It's a good
How do the
nickname.
Chiefs ever lose? They're guaranteed a wide open player in the middle of the field on every single third down.
Well, Travis Kelce does feel like
Myles
that.
Garrett only gets garbage time sacks.
Ooh, hot take.
Torture. God damn it, Browns. Can't wait for Cowherd to blame Baker for this.
Backward at.
Comment. You can't drop a punt. Reply. Gilligan can. Can't tell if the defense is going to be bad again or if it was just Kelsey Hill things. Boycott Applebee's. That commercial was the reason Cleveland lost.
I'm okay with that.
We better beat Texas by 30 next week.
That's a real song, by the way.
The world never fails to get a little darker each time the Chiefs win.
That song is on the Billboard
Hell of
charts.
an attempt.
The Applebee's song.
Why was I born into this fandom?
Hell are we doing?
I f***ing hate watching the Browns sometimes. I might need to go to the ER after this. Well, at least I can go take a shit now, finally. The only way we haven't lost in week 1 is by forfeit. Comment. Pain. Agony, even. Suffering, if you will. Response. Big sad. Maybe even a large sad. Hi. I was at this game. The one big takeaway for me is that the Chiefs fans are unfathomably f***ing loud. My head is still pounding from the atmosphere in that stadium. The fact that we kept it up with them and even had the advantage at some point in KC is a f***ing accomplishment.
Okay, I'm sure.
As is tradition. Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Hard to say it was a great game when everyone choked when it actually mattered. And now, the bronze medal of things that Browns fans said on Reddit. Tony Room is such a Chiefs suck. And now the silver medal. You, Kelsey, you handsome motherfucker. And now,
I like when they start
the
off
winner
with a bleep.
of things that Browns fans said on Reddit. Before every Browns game, I wake up and eat a big bowl of cream of wheat, turn on the last season of Game of Thrones, put on my Johnny Forking football jersey, and drink a Lion's Head Deluxe Pilsner, and somehow they still manage to let me down. God, I love this team.
That's fandom right there.
That really is.
You know the team brings you nothing but misery, and you love it. You love it.
So it was
we lived for watching the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yes.
We knew Marcus Mariota was going to throw a touchdown pass to
Yes.
himself, but that's what we love. We love that.
It was a big bowl of cream of wheat, a Johnny Manziel jersey, the last season of Game of Thrones, and some alcoholic beverage that I'm guessing isn't pleasant. Some sort of Pilsner. I don't mind a Pilsner. I don't know what.
I think it was a Pilsner.
Some sort of, maybe it was a cheap I don't remember what it was in particular, but it sounded, I guess it's an unpleasant one. Wow, that's wonderful.
Lion's Head Deluxe Pilsner, and somehow...
A Lion's Head Deluxe Pilsner. Is that like a famously cheap bill?
Probably.
Beer? I said Bill. Why did I say Bill? Head Deluxe Pilsner. It's from the Lion Brewery. That's a good effort from a ghost.
there's lots. You got a lot of free time in Beyond.
I guess that's true. Do ghosts have to sleep?
Oh.
Let's about a poll question. I'm about a poll question. Do lions? I'm looking at. I'm trying to figure out why this is the beer that maybe he just likes this and it's just there to chase the cream of wheat. I don't know. Maybe it's just that drinking any beer at 9 a.m. is a tough draw. I don't know. Okay, so poll question. Do ghosts need to sleep? Hashtag AES on 810, as if there's any doubt.
S. Wallaby, I will post Sad Fans by its own on the podcast page.
Will we?
He asked if we could, so that there's not us talking over it. So I can post it.
Yeah, we might need to try to just push away from the microphone more often. You know, maybe we just need to let sad fans breathe. I want to commentate over everything, but it's because I'm afraid of radio silence, and also
we could also talk over it and just. I don't see anything wrong with me just posting.
No, that's fine.
A little treat.
That's fine. Just as a treat. Just as a treat.
Just
Sad Fans treat. On its own, just as a treat. I'm perfectly okay with that.
And then we can talk over it.
The whole thing.
Just everything.
Like, you should just be playing it again right now really quietly.
It's playing.
Wow, maybe turn it up a little bit, I guess.
It is going.
And we just talk over it and just completely wash it out.
Yeah.
What if we would have done? How mad would he would have haunted us from the beyond so hard? What if we just didn't play it? Because a little inside baseball. By inside baseball, I mean inside radio. This is our only AES this week because we had football, AES, football.
Football-ish.
We had professional football.
That's me taking a jab at high school sports.
Right. So we have professional football, AES, professional football, amateur football, and that means it's the only AES this week. What if we just? I have not personally been in touch with Beards because I've left my Ouija board at home.
Ouija.
I feel like I'm gonna have to really successfully pronounce this because it feels like it's gonna be a recurring issue for the show. I know it's spelled Ouija. I'm currently at the pronunciation on Google. Hold on.
Ouija.
How about that?
Wiki.
Ouija.
Ouija.
Ouija. Ouija.
I feel like you could have inserted Ouija in some of those sad fan parts and it would have just been perfect.
Ouija.
There's a slow button you can click.
I don't like the slow button.
Ouija.
I don't know why that hurts to hear, but I don't like the slow version.
Ouija.
I wish I could slow it down more. If I go get my Ouija board, I could probably communicate with Beards on this. But imagine how Luigi's board.
It's Luigi's board.
It's Ouija's mansion. Imagine how frustrated he would be from the beyond haunting us if we just told him what if we just told him we didn't play it? We forgot. What if we just told him we forgot?
It'd be pretty good.
I don't want to get haunted though.
Here's the thing.
I really don't need a ghost in my house.
We played it, so there is no ghost. We could also still tell him, and we know he's not listening.
Ouija.
He barely listened when he was here.
Ouija. Let's see here. There's a lot going on the Twitch today. I really appreciate that.
There is.
Can I get a country of origin? The Ouija's are that band from the 70s. No, that's actually...
I think that's the Bee's Knees.
That's the Bee's Knees. What you're thinking of is the children's band where there's the four guys that all wear different colored shirts. They were the
Partridge
Ouija's.
Family.
No. You're thinking of the Addams Family.
Ah.
The Ouija's did the fruit salad song. And also Staying Alive.
Got it. What about Thriller? Is that them?
Maybe. You know what? No one knows.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery that we can't... no one's been able to successfully prove who did the song Thriller. That's the
add awkward silence to the bingo card.
A silence where obviously we're both trying to come up with one more joke, but we're clearly struggling. That might be a free space. It's the same guy that did the song about, like, I'm starting with the man in the
Ouija.
That's who did the Thriller song.
The man in the Ouija.
It's about communicating with a ghost trapped in a mirror. That's
pretty deep.
S. Wallaby says, I thought that was the thing you used to clean your car windshield. No, that's a squee, which is also the sound that squirrels make.
What does the squirrel say?
And that song is by Michael Jackson.
It's weird last 60 seconds.
Has this only been 60 seconds? It's felt like an hour and a half of radio. I can feel the walls closing in on me like a trash compactor scene in Star Wars.
I think it's been like 2 to 3 minutes because I remember thinking to myself, looking over at one point being like, maybe it's a good time to toss a break and be like, well, it's 8:19.
Yep, I did the same thing. I looked over because there's the 2 clocks here, and one of them is about a minute and a half ahead. I looked at one of them. You know what? We can take a break here now and come back with Joe Wiz. He'll give us we'll talk some real football with him and like get some betting lines and stuff. I looked over to the other clock, and it was like, it says 8:21. It's too soon to do that. He does not. He will join us at about 8:30, and not 8:24. And because it's a Joe, could you hop on 6 minutes early because we drowned in a bit of ours.
We're making Michael Jackson jokes, and not good ones.
Ouija.
Wallaby asked if we can hear a Wookiee impression.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Ouija.
You know what? I have one totally non-sports thing that I wanted to mention today. And this is like the time to do it. Oh, I also could have talked about the Manning cast. Boy, I got to look at my notes more often. I work on my notes way too hard and then completely ignore them for an entire show. It's not a good... I'm not bragging. I understand that it's a flaw.
That was my testing process.
You what?
In college, that was how I studied.
Oh, yeah.
Way too many notes during classes, and then when it's time for the finals, just not even to look at them.
Yeah, I completely understand that. There are several things that I could have mentioned here, but can I tell you what I had for my early dinner today?
Yeah. I'll tell you what I had.
You go first.
So like my day was weird, so I'm on like a weird eating schedule where like I ate at 9, and then I didn't eat anything till about 4:30ish, and then I may at 9 have like dinner.
Sure.
Because 4:30 might have been like a late lunch.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had a very nice honey chipotle salmon over some rice. Here's the thing, man. Hen House just has like these like they just have like you just walk up, you just buy like it's a little
like a
meal
pre-made,
to go.
Yeah.
The honey chipotle salmon is unbelievable.
Wow, that sounds wonderful.
Unbelievable.
So
truly one of the better things that I treat myself to.
Our food is going to have some things in common and some things very much not in common.
Yeah.
So I had lunch at like 11 today. It was a whole deal, and Renee made like we had like a kind of a brunchish lunch. It was wonderful, but meant I was hungry when I was on my way in today. I was in a bit of a hurry trying to get here. And there's a McDonald's really close between the off-ramp off the highway and to getting here. What I really wanted is a Coca-Cola slushie. We did the taste test last week, and cracking open the old-fashioned Coke really reminded me of how much I really like Coke slushies. And so at one point, I went to Quick Trip and then was reminded of the fact that they have Coke slushies, and I wanted to make a little half cherry, half regular Coke slushie. That's the ideal for me, but the cherry one wasn't ready, so I just had a Coke slushie. It was wonderful. But today I didn't really have time to go through Quick Trip, but I remembered that McDonald's at least used to have a frozen drink machine, including a Coke one. So you know what? I'm just going to go to that McDonald's and get one there. It's like $1 or something. Boy, I am a little hungry right now. McDonald's fries are always pretty good. I'll just get a meal of something. I'll get some McDonald's fries and a frozen Coke. And then I got up to the menu and I saw a picture on one of the boards, and then I got to the board and just sort of stared at it for a minute, had to make a choice. So you know what I haven't had in, maybe 10 years, honestly. Maybe longer. I've not had a fish fillet, or a fillet of fish, excuse me. I've not had a fillet of fish in an incredibly long time. I like a fried breaded fish, you know. Figured it was basically going to taste like fish sticks, which it totally did. That's exactly what the fish tastes like.
I like fish sticks.
I do too. And
it's
so
been
I thought
forever since I've had a fish stick. But a fish stick is a good meal.
Absolutely. That's where my head was at. And then I ordered the filet of fish meal. Coke slushy thing was great. That was exactly what I was looking for. Fries were fine. Needed some more salt or something today? I'm not sure. But I ordered the filet of fish with extra pickle because I love pickles, especially on a fish sandwich like that. Felt important. And so I got it, and the actual filet did not even. I wanted the corners of it to hang over the edges of the bun, and it fully fit inside of the bun.
That's always disappointing.
And it had exactly 2 pickle slices, which is not extra and is just the normal amount.
Well, I would say the normal amount of pickles on a fish fillet might actually be 0. Do they normally put it on
No,
there?
it's 2. It's definitely 2.
So they always put 2 on
Yeah,
there?
that's the standard. They did not put extra on.
I didn't know because I thought maybe pickles are not what they normally put on that thing. So by saying extra, 2 is extra.
I guess. I'm pretty sure they put on 2, and if they don't,
0.
you gotta. If I say extra, it means 4.
It means
at least.
Means grab a handful.
It means
and just slam
embarrass
it on
this
there.
sandwich with pickles. And the breading was sort of soggy. The bun was weird, but that McDonald's buns are just kind of weird in general.
There.
And I wish I would have just followed my initial instinct. I probably had time to do this and just gone to Quick Trip, gotten a Coke slushy, and then gotten the chicken taquito and a buffalo chicken stick.
I went there for breakfast.
Did you have the breakfast pizza?
Oh, boy. Let me tell you.
Oh.
For the longest time, my go-to was I'd always just get 2 of their jalapeno sausage roll things because those things are also outstanding.
Not had one. Sounds great.
Oh, my goodness. So good. And then just like one time I went there and they were out of those. So I was like, okay, I'll grab the breakfast pizza.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, boy, that's an experience.
Oh, baby.
That is a Quick Trip is special, man.
The last seasoning.
If I could have, we've done the whole like, hey, if you could have a company like sponsor you, what would it be? It might be Quick Trip for me.
It's incredible. The last thing on my filet of fish adventure is I got my order and I got here with like 10 minutes to spare before I needed to really be in here. And so I just ate the whole thing in my car because I didn't think that bringing it in here and then eating it in front of anyone else would be something that I would ever recover from.
It also, and
like the place to eat a fillet of fish is away from the prying eyes of any. I'm going to put up another poll question. Do you have to eat a fillet of fish under the cover of darkness completely alone without observers?
So this might be the 3rd time I've talked about this on the show. There's the bird that you have to eat with your head covered because you can't even let God see it because you eat the whole thing whole because its bones are so brittle.
Yes.
That's a fish fillet.
Is the filet of fish? That's true for a ton of fast food.
For sure.
But filet of fish almost more than anything else.
You can't even let God see it.
Not even God can watch me eat a filet of fish. I just should have gotten the Coke slushy and just starved. That would have been better for me both physically and morally. We'll talk about gambling lines with Joe Wiz. That's next on Almost Entirely Sports.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile.
own the team.
Yes, right. Said, hey, yeah.
Man, I hope they really want me.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
He helped you out last week, so let's do it again now. We're talking to Joe Wiz. You can follow him on Twitter, on Instagram, at Joe Wiz Sports. You can hear him on the Fine Line, 7 a.m. Sunday, right here on Sports Radio 810. You can hear him all across the country, but for us here, it's 7 a.m. Sunday, Sports Radio 810, all across the socials at Joe Wiz Sports, JoeWizSports.com. Joe, we've got 1 week of the NFL in the books. We had some stressful games, some very fun games. How'd you feel about the first week of real action?
Boy, I was just happy to see every stadium packed, and it was just so much excitement. And, of course, I was happy to make some money for all the listeners out there. I'm really pumped up for week 2 and ready to deliver some winners. And, of course, remember my show will be on every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 810. I'm going to have 60 minutes of loaded action. I'm going to talk about every single NFL game on the board.
A couple of the ones that we highlighted last week, you liked the Browns against the spread. That was a stressful game for us here, but the Chiefs won and the Browns covered, so we're happy on that front. And then last night, Monday Night Football was ridiculous. I know you liked the Raiders with the points there. Obviously, they took that game straight up. Got to feel good about a Monday night game to cap off a week like that one, though, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Allegiant Stadium was rocking last night. And, Josh, you take a look at these lines, and you notice that, even the line last night, there was more money coming in on the Ravens. Not much, but according to my source, a little bit more. But yet the line dropped to 3.5 late. I took +4. And you talk about the Cleveland game with KC, same thing. The public was all over Kansas City in this game, and let the line was 6. It dropped the game time. Some smart officers here on the East Coast in New York that I monitor had the line down to 4.5. So I sit there and say, wow, everyone's betting KC, but yet the line is dropping. And generally, that's a good recipe to cover. And the dog did come through for Cleveland with us. And, they were caught a couple bad breaks there. I know you guys are avid Kansas City fans out there, but being from the outside looking in without the biased opinion, KC was on the ropes in that game, and Cleveland should have won that game. And KC was very lucky to get out of Arrowhead with a win.
We also talked about last week kind of your philosophy on underdogs. And, like you said, the public likes the over. The public typically likes the favorite. I saw this tweet pop up yesterday, and I immediately saved it so I could bring it back for you here. I saw this from Alan Bell on Twitter. Said that underdogs went 12-4 against the spread in week 1. 12-4 for the underdogs against the spread. So that's the most underdogs to cover in an NFL week 1 in the history of the Super Bowl era. What do you make of that with again, if people missed the show last week, kind of your background from the bookmaker side, not just from the public side?
Yeah, you look at it here. It started on Thursday with the Dallas Cowboys getting the points. I mean, Dallas looked like they're the team to beat all of a sudden. Dak Prescott played almost just as good, if not better, than Brady, and that line went inflated. It went from 8.5. I seen some lines at 10 on Thursday. Yeah. So you seen that line. The public was all over it. There's so much parity in the league this year, Josh. You have to pay attention. Sometimes people read too much into the line moves, depending what's going on. But there's really no clear-cut teams. Everyone's looking at Tampa and Kansas City, but we both seen that neither one of those teams looked like they were ready to go to the Super Bowl. Neither one of them covered, and they were both on the ropes. So pay attention, and hopefully we can deliver some winners. I traditionally play underdogs because I feel that the bookmakers sometimes overinflate the lines based on public perception, and that's where I come to play, and I try and break it down and find weaknesses in the line.
The underdogs paid out last week. I want to get to some of the games you really like in this NFL slate. But first, I got to skip to what is going to be the one for us here, especially Chiefs at Ravens. I don't know what you're seeing, where you're getting the lines right now. I've seen 3 before I think it might have been even 2.5 in some places before Monday Night Football. Right now, I'm seeing 3.5 in favor of the Chiefs. That's 3.5 on the road. What do you like there? Where have you seen the line move? And then how do you feel about the Chiefs with a field goal and a hook?
Yeah, you take a look at this game. It's a Sunday night game. Too bad it isn't the Monday night game because, but when you look at it here, the Chiefs have dominated the Ravens. I mean, they do well against Baltimore, and the Ravens' defense is terrible. I mean, look what Oakland did to them yesterday on Monday night, I should say. And as far as Kansas City, I give the edge to Mahomes, and the line's relatively low here, so I don't mind laying a small price. I don't like laying it on the road. Line's 3, the total's at 55. I feel that this is going to be a high-scoring game. game. So rather than get involved with the spread itself, I lean more towards the total this game here. You see what Vegas was able to do and be able to move the ball. I think Mahomes, with the one game under his belt against Cleveland, I think that you're going to see points go back and forth here. Even though the total being 55, I could see going way over the total, and it wouldn't shock me for KC to get the win on the road.
Yeah, I like that also. I think over 55 makes a lot of sense with both of these offenses having a lot of great weapons and both of these defenses just putting up a little bit of a struggling performance. The Chiefs get Tyrann Mathieu back theoretically this upcoming week, but not Willie Gay. He's on IR. Frank Clark still don't know yet. So a lot to prove for both of those defenses. I like the over there also. What about the rest of the slate? What jumps out to you right now? Again, noting that we're here on Tuesday, some things might change over the course of the week, but looking at the rest of the NFL games, what's the line that jumps out to you?
Well, there's a lot of games here. You take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, last week we talked about them right here on the air. I gave out Pittsburgh. I took the 6.5. I even gave it out on the money line. We took plus 300. So those people that bet 100 got back plus 300 on the Steelers. It was a little bit of a bold, ambitious move. I felt more comfortable taking the 6.5 and 7. But some of my guys like to do the money line, Josh. And sometimes, you could take a little bit of a risk and get a big reward if you feel an underdog has a chance to win outright. And we saw plenty of underdogs winning outright last week. But I think that this Chiefs game, this Steeler game with the Raiders, I think this game is going to be a close game. The Raiders played really well yesterday, and I think the Steelers overachieved. The line's 6 in this game here. I have the line at 3.5 and 4, so I'm going to jump on the Raiders in this game. Even though they're coming in on a short week, I like them in this game here. Also, the Bears, I'm not sure why the Bears are favored over anybody here. They played okay against the Rams. I think that Burrow has a good shot of getting a road win there. I think they're a live dog with the Bengals getting the 3 against the Chicago Bears. Those are two dogs that stick out to me that I feel have a chance of winning outright and then getting points.
I love that. So whenever you look at those games, do you ever get the itch to try to put a little parlay together? I know we talked about this a little bit last week, or do you like to just play these straight up?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, being from the bookmaker perspective, the bookmakers respect guys that come in and bet individual games. Do I bet parlays? Of course I do. You do a 2-teamer, you get 2.5 to 1. A 3-team parlay pays you 6 to 1. But I always tell people the more games you bet, the less likely you are to win. So if you bet 2 games and you bet, I'll say 100 on each game, and you win one and lose one, it's okay. You lose $10 juice and you can live for another day. But if you do the parlay and one wins and one loses, then all of a sudden you've lost your bet. I tell people the best bet is to bet individual games and make a small bet on the side, what I call an exotic bet if you want to do a parlay or a teaser. That should never be your main bet. You should always pick 1 or 2 games, bet them individually, and if you know what you're doing and you split, you can live for another day. You just don't want to lose, and that's the most important thing. There are weeks that I tell people it's 52 weeks in a year. If I sat there and told you I win every week, it's absolutely nonsense. There are weeks I like to break even. There are some weeks I might take a little bit of a hit, but in the long run, it's all about money management, how you manage your money, and make sure you do it the right way. Don't bet over your head, bet smart. And I'm hoping that when people tune into my show on Sundays at 7 a.m., I'll be able to break down every NFL game. We talk about money management, Josh. That's so important is money management, because some people go out there and load up and bet a lot on every game, and it's not really the smart way to make money.
That's the Fine Line, 7 a.m. Sunday, right here on Sports Radio 810. Also, if they want to get a hold of you, see some of your other stuff that you put out there, you can go at Joe Wiz Sports on Twitter and Instagram, joewizsports.com. One more time, Joe, if you can, tell people not only how they can get a hold of you and what they can see, we got all that laid out here now, but why you're the guy to be listening to as they're trying to make some money this NFL season.
Well, I have over 25 years of experience. I've been there and done that. If you go to my website, joewizsports.com, you'll see I made the biggest legal bet ever in the state of New Jersey. I set the state record in New Jersey. That's in the books forever. I did the same thing at FanDuel at the Meadowlands. I'm on the East Coast, so I like being on in all different parts of the country. I certainly enjoy being on with your audience here on 810, because I kind of give you the outside looking in, because sometimes people bet with emotion. They bet on their favorite team, and you have to be very careful, because a lot of people just like to bet that way, and you have to be able to do your research. And I'm hoping when they listen to my show for the 1 hour, I can give them an overall perspective, a bookmaker angle on not to be afraid to bet underdogs, not to be afraid to bet on unders as opposed to overs. And they can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Joe Wiz Sports. That's JOEWIZ Sports. Most important thing, Josh, for them to tune in every Sunday at 7 a.m. I get 60 minutes. I get to talk about every single game, money management and discipline. They're two things that a lot of people like to gamble. I like to use the word invest. Don't gamble with your money. Invest with it and bet smart and not over your head.
I like to think we made people a little smarter here in these 10 minutes. You can get 6 times as smart with the Fine Line, 7 a.m. Sunday. That's Joe Wiz right here on Sports Radio 810, 7 to 8 a.m. on Sunday. Joe, looking forward to the next edition of it. Looking forward to another week of NFL football, and looking forward to talking to you again next week.
There you go. Go KC.
I'll take it. Joe Wiz, JoeWizSports.com, 7 a.m. Sunday for the Fine Line right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports? Almost Entirely Sports.
The Raiders have lost 4 games in a row. That's crazy.
Are they for real?
I think, you know what? I think the Raiders might not be for real.
With Joshua Brisco.
Is Joe Flacco elite?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kind of a curveball even for us here, but I had this idea earlier today, and I think it's a good one, so I'm going to stick to my guns on it. I was made even more happy to do this whenever I realized that Rudy did not know what was going to be coming here. So earlier today, Norm Macdonald, best known for SNL and an enormous laundry list of incredibly funny things, died at the age of 61. Apparently had been battling cancer for 9 years, which no one really knew about. But the moment that I saw the news, I immediately thought about this one joke that many of you have almost certainly already heard from a segment he did with Conan O'Brien quite a while ago, and it's a long one, and I am excited to listen to it once again. So if you haven't heard this yet, I recently found out that this might not have even been a Norm Macdonald original. But his telling of it is excellent. So here's Norm Macdonald on Conan's show a while ago, telling a joke that I think is worth sitting through.
I'm sitting with Norm Macdonald, and now not all your material comes from the news. Is that right?
No, some of my material my strongest material comes from real life.
Real life?
Like, for instance, today I was driving in a car. You were kind enough to bring a car to bring this old chunk of coal here to the studio.
We send cars for our guests, yes.
Yeah, so I got in it, and I get material that way. So my driver.
What do you mean? How do you get material that way? You get in the car, and what happens?
My driver tells me a joke.
The driver we sent to pick you up told you a joke?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell it now on the show?
Yeah, that's how I get a lot of my material.
Okay. Why don't we just have him on next time?
That guy. That guy. No, wait till you hear me do it. So the guy, he goes, I say, I'll be the guy.
Okay.
A moth goes into a podiatrist's office.
A moth goes into a podiatrist's office. Right.
You are correct. A moth goes into a podiatrist's office, and the podiatrist's office says, "What's the problem?" And the moth says, "What's the problem? Where do I begin, man?" He goes, "I go to work for Gregory Linovich, and all day long I work." Honestly, Doc, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I don't even know if Gregory Linovich knows. He only knows that he has power over me, and that seems to bring him happiness. But I don't know. I wake up in a malaise, and I walk here and there. The podiatrist says, "Oh, yeah?" And the moth goes, "Yes." And he goes, "At night, I sometimes wake up, and I turn to some old lady in my bed that's on my arm. A lady that I once loved, Doc. I don't know where to turn to. My youngest, Alexandria. She fell in the cold of last year. The cold took her down, as it did many of us. And my other boy, and this is the hardest pill to swallow, Doc. My other boy, Gregorio Ivanilidovich. I no longer love him. As much as it pains me to say, when I look in his eyes, all I see is the same cowardice that I catch when I take a glimpse of my own face in the mirror. If only the cowardice was stronger, then perhaps I could bring myself to reach over to that cocked and loaded gun that lays on the bedside behind me. Goodness. And in this hellish facade once
How long a drive was this? Do you live in the valley? Where do you live? Please, sorry.
He says, "Doc, sometimes I feel like a spider, even though I'm a moth, just barely hanging on to my web with an everlasting fire underneath me. I'm not feeling good." And so the doctor says, "Moth, man, you're troubled. But you should be seeing a psychiatrist. Why on earth did you come here?" And then the moth said, "Because the light was on."
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
My congratulations to anyone who stuck it through to the end. So Norm.
What?
What? We're pretty much out of time.
1 minute.
I love that joke. Every single time.
It's very good.
Every single time it gets
I was
me,
very
man.
lost at first.
Of
I was
course.
like, what is happening here? And then the punchline. I was like, I get it.
The light was on. I love
Moth humor.
Yep. Just a little moth humor to get you through your Tuesday night. There you go. There's plenty of Norm Macdonald if you've not caught on at this point. You just go find, just search his name on YouTube and you'll have plenty of things to do after AES ends here tonight. Also, a quick poll update. 78% of our audience says ghosts do need to sleep, and 72% of the audience says don't need to sleep.
Yeah,
78% say ghosts don't sleep. If you order a fillet of fish, do you have to eat it alone and under the cover of darkness so no humans nor God above can see you eat it? 72% of our audience so far says yes. You can still go vote on those on Twitter at JB Brisco. Seth Keysor is next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810.
hates money almost as much as he hates the idea of a healthy sleep schedule.
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
The man who has so many children, his wife figured he wouldn't even notice if she bought a few chickens and ducks for the backyard.
We could have an episode where we just have my children appear on the show in ascending order. So we'll do like a minute of Lucas, then 2 minutes of Isabel, then 3 minutes of... Man, I have a lot of kids.
The man who does all of this while being a lawyer in a state that has snow all 12 months of the year.
Until it freezes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I actually felt very at home driving through southern Iowa. It was snow everywhere, and people were slowing down to like 40. It was adorable. I was driving slowly, but I literally was hanging my head out the window screaming, and that was disconcerting.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times Hours podcast on Almost Entirely Sports.
It's a Seth Keysor Tuesday after an actual Chiefs football game. He was in town for it. I have also heard rumors of him currently being in some amount of physical pain. Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Ours podcast, on Twitter at RealMNChiefsFan. Seth, can you confirm these rumors that my sources have passed along to me that you are currently in physical pain?
I am. Your sources are amazing. Yes, I visited the dentist today for the first time in a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than doing they do the cleaning and stuff, they took my whole cleaning time to do what's called debridement, which is, it's just, I'm not sure what it is, but it involves something that makes a lot of noise and torture. It just, it hurts. It hurts a lot. But we shall persevere. I called my wife afterwards to tell her how bad it hurt, and she almost cried. She laughed at me so hard. Like, she just thought it was the funniest thing. My wife's a sick woman, but I'm glad to hear at least somewhat sympathetic sounds coming from your face.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why our relationship is healthier than mine and Chap's.
It really seems like you guys have got some stuff to sort through. A debridement is defined as the gross removal of plaque and calculus/tartar that interfere with the ability of the dentist to perform a cleaning. It's a procedure done to thoroughly remove plaque and tartar from your teeth and gums. So it seems like you've got some stuff going on there.
It hurts so bad, and it's just not great. They use it's basically felt like they were sanding my teeth.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, no, it was whatever you're picturing. That's exactly what it was. Up it maybe. It sounds like you're really picturing it pretty bad.
Yeah.
Up at like 5 or 10%, and you've got it.
Did they use the little metal, the hooked metal spiky thing that they drag? I can feel that right now in my teeth, and I can hear it. I can hear the noise that makes, the sound of pointy metal on enamel tooth, and I hate it.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It was not a fun afternoon for me, and I forgot to get caffeine. It's just been a bad day overall. But you know what wasn't a bad day? Sunday.
I was going to, my segue, that's pretty good. My segue was going to be, let's talk about the better thing you did with those teeth this week, which is what you ate whenever you got to town. But I like your segue also, though.
Yes, well, I mean, this segues to Saturday, which was also a good day. I ate some Joe's Kansas City barbecue. I ate my weight in barbecue. It was incredible. And then I got to run it right back on Sunday, getting a chance to tailgate. Shout out to my host, Clint, last name redacted. I didn't ask whether I could share his full name, so I'm not gonna.
Smart.
He fed me some of the best pulled pork I've ever eaten in my life, had a bunch of great company, and then we got to go to one of the most fun games I've been at. It's really rare to see everyone jumping, right?
Yeah.
Like jumping up and down with excitement. And you had a few moments like that at Arrowhead on Sunday. It was great, full stadium, full roar, et cetera, et cetera. It was awesome. It was such a fun experience.
It had to be bonkers as a general experience. If you just look at like the win probability chart from the game, I mean, it literally looks like a roller coaster. So what was it like at the stadium at the worst moment, at the quietest out there?
Here's the interesting thing. I think it probably varied depending on what section you were in.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't, like, panicking. And that's, I mean, there were some people, like, it's interesting. People were panicking a lot more on Twitter than they were in the stadium.
You're saying that people on the internet occasionally react harder and more aggressively than people do in real life?
Yeah, I was surprised, too.
That doesn't sound right, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem legit. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, like kind of juxtaposing those two things. And I paid attention to these people sitting around me. They were annoyed, but that would be the strongest emotion, I would say. They were annoyed. They weren't quite freaking out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, just maybe, except if you include people who are online, the Chiefs' level of success over the course of the last 3 or 4 years has finally gotten people to the point where they can at least handle it for a half if things don't go according to plan. And it really was one of the conversations that I had with a couple people at the halftime was the idea that, specifically with my host, was that the Browns really had done everything right.
Yeah.
They'd really done everything right, and they really could have used some points before the half. But they'd done everything right, but they were still only up 2 scores with the Chiefs getting the ball back. And it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, if the Chiefs score, that's going to be pretty tough for them, for the Browns now, because you've done everything right. Everything's gone your way that really could up to this point. And then, you know, if they score, now you're still only up by 1 score. And the pressure's on you to keep scoring and keep moving the ball. And that's exactly what happened. So it was quiet, and you could see when the defense is on the field. I mean, when the crowd loses faith in the defense, you can feel it. You know, the stadium just gets a lot less loud. And after the first 3 drives, people were a little tired of screaming.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not fair. Obviously, the players are trying harder than we are. But at the same time, it's hard to you know, get revved up 3rd down after 3rd down when there's multiple conversions. And I think that's what you're starting to see in the crowd. But the good thing was it did not take long for it to pop back into place.
Right. Like, I imagine there were probably a couple of good moments, but I don't know where you were sitting or what your vantage point was, but I'm very interested what it looked like in real time as you were seeing a one-play 75-yard touchdown drive in the making. Because I have to imagine that was a very fun thing to not only be in person there for, but also be able to watch from above and to hopefully see that breaking apart in a way that was about to turn into a huge play.
It was so much fun. So when Mahomes released the ball, you know, you look downfield and you see – because it wasn't one of those situations where Hill was wide open.
Right.
You see that he's well covered. But as soon as I saw Hill double back for the ball and the defender keep going, my immediate thing was, if he doesn't drop it, this is 6. And so that was really fun to watch. As it happened, because that and I think everyone that could see it was feeling similarly, because they saw how the field was laid out, and there just was no one there to help. And so that was a really fun moment, because, you know, there's kind of like that, just catch it, like, that's one of those ones where it's such a breadbasket, just kind of, it's like you're fielding a punt.
Yeah.
That you're worried that they might put too much thought into it and fumble it. But as soon as he caught it, everyone freaked out, because he was obviously going to score. There was no chance of him getting run down. The defender knew it too. He didn't even really try. That was a lot of fun. And seeing that happen, that really, it turned the game around in a lot of ways. But it really, coming out of halftime was a big deal. And then the fumble was a big deal. After Nick Chubb's fumble, and like they saw that they were like capable of not having the Browns score, the crowd became a lot livelier. Even after the next possession went really poorly, they still managed to kind of hang in there, because up until then it was just like, wow, we can't stop these guys. You know, I was joking around that, you know, the Browns are playing kind of ball control to an extent, But really, they're the team that should want as many possessions as possible because they're averaging like 7 points a drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting in a point that you made in your most recent piece up in the Chief in the North newsletter, kind of an overarching view of the game and, the idea of this blueprint or what you do to try to beat the Chiefs and all of that. Like in this instance, there was no desire to keep the Chiefs off the field or more within the realm of feasibility to try to limit the number of possessions or whatever, because the Browns' offense was excellent. Even after a one throw for 75-yard touchdown from Mahomes, like Baker Mayfield was averaging significant, like 2 full yards more per pass attempt than the Chiefs were with Mahomes throwing it. They were running the ball effectively, but not just for the sake of running the ball. Like with the exception of the Chubb fumble and then that botched punt. I mean, you mentioned that having some points at the end of the half would have been nice for them. They got all the way down to the 36-yard line, but then you have a penalty and a Chris Jones sack on 3rd and 20, and all of a sudden they're just trying to run out the clock on a sort of a weird Hail Mary Wildcat kind of thing. Like there are 3 little inflection points there, and again, you cover some of the generalities around this in the new piece up in the newsletter. I think if you look at 3 of those and say two of those 3 inflection points go in the Browns' favor instead of all 3 of those going in the Chiefs' favor, this game goes differently.
I think with any close game, you're going to usually be able to find 2 or 3 plays, right, where you get something that swings, and I think that's pretty accurate. I would say that anything that happened before the fourth quarter, and this is just where I'm at this point, just oozing confidence. Anything that happens before the fourth quarter, honestly, it just doesn't really swing the game.
Sure.
Because my ridiculously silly and impossible to disprove hypothesis is that, let's say the Browns had scored another touchdown before halftime. I think the Chiefs might have just scored a little quicker a couple times. They really Mahomes. It's kind of, someone had commented, I can't remember who it was, that Mahomes, maybe it was Mitch Schwartz. He said, how fast is Patrick Mahomes? He's just a little faster than whoever's chasing him.
I think that was something Schwartz. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Although I will say I do think that he's slower than Myles Garrett. After watching a play there, it looked like Myles was about to run him down.
I mean, that's
and Mahomes wisely got rid of the ball.
Yeah.
He said, this is probably not worth it to find out. But he really, that's the thing with Mahomes is, if he's running from a 320-pound nose tackle, he'll run a certain speed. If he's running from a 230-pound linebacker, he runs a certain speed, and it's bizarre. It feels like that's how the offense can perform. It's like, well, how good do we need to be in the second half? Okay, we'll be that good. Because that applies the other way too, right?
Yeah.
Like if they put up 35 in the first half, in the second half, they're like, yeah, we don't really need to be very good. But those inflection points were definitely a big deal. And I will say, people can dismiss the idea of pedigree and being in big games and not panicking and kind of you've been here before. You really can see some of that in body language, and who knows how much that affects performance, right? I have no idea. But you can really see with the Chiefs, it just kind of, it's like, well, we'll get them next time. And it's just no matter what happens. Yeah. They just keep kind of coming. And that's got to be frustrating to play.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you think of a better one, but I think it's a Texans playoff game where you could look back and say, well, we did that. So we can kind of do anything. we can kind of just erase any deficit at any point. And it's not literally any deficit at literally any point, because you do need the defense to get a couple of stops to get the ball back, right? I mean, we saw the Rams Monday Night Football game that we will all remember until the days we die. Like you can still lose with Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback, but it's really unlikely that you're going to, and no lead is insurmountable. The reason that I kind of look back at those 3 points, and again, it circles around in the piece in the newsletter, is that if you're the Browns, if you're a team that's bringing all of the right tools to the job, which I really think the Browns pretty well did in this game, especially early on.
Agree.
They were aggressive. They were smart with their risks. They had they were running the ball effectively when they chose to do that, but they were getting these huge chunk plays through the air. They were finding good matchups. The defense did a fine enough job, certainly through the first half. If you're going up against the Chiefs, they brought all of the right tools in the toolbox, but their punter dropped a snap and Nick Chubb lost a fumble, and that was too much. That was too big of a gap to give to the Chiefs, even though they played, 3 quarters of really excellent football. And that's just, like you said, it has to be infuriating for an opposing team, but it's also hilarious from our perspective.
Absolutely, and that shows the margin of error for playing Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like, the Browns are a very talented team with a very talented roster. They're very well coached. They came in with a game plan on the offensive side of the ball that the Chiefs did not play like they were ready for. Some of those big plays, you had some major breakdowns in coverage. You could tell the play action really had them going. Chris Jones admitted as much after the game. Basically said, the play action was getting us. They passed the ball a little more than we thought they were going to. So that went well, right? Like you said, they were smart with their risky decisions, and they were converting.
Yep.
On a couple of fourth downs, they were converting. They were being smart. The Chiefs left some points on the board with a fourth down decision that I didn't agree with.
Yep.
And again, maybe the Chiefs walk away with 0 there. Who knows? But I don't know. I seem more likely to convert it. That's neither here nor there, I guess. But they were making a few of those decisions correctly, and the margin for error is so small when you're playing the Chiefs a certain way. And that's where it becomes down to, I think you might need, unless it's like, an injury or a bunch of really bad luck, you really do need to be able to just put up points in bunches, and it really might be as simple as that. And that's what I wrote about, right, is this idea of like this template that you shorten the game, and they did that, right? The Chiefs only had 3 drives that really mattered in the first half. The Browns were shortening the game. They were making it to where, we'll have fewer possessions, all that. Well, the problem is it's really hard to keep playing that brand of football.
Yeah.
Even if you're a team that's built to do it, where the offensive line is kind of dominating, you're running the ball well, all these things. The problem is it only puts you up by 1 score.
Right.
It keeps the game close. And if you're only up by 1 score, by God, you better not fumble the ball. You better not have your punter drop something, because that's it. And then they get an opportunity. They drop 13 points in rapid succession, and suddenly you're losing. And now you have to play completely differently than how you wanted to play. And it's really tough to beat the Chiefs utilizing the template that is often the national talking point. I think the easier way to beat the Chiefs is to have a really awesome offense and a really awesome defense and have them make a few mistakes.
Yeah.
But that feels like a template to beat anyone.
Right. That is a template you would follow to build any team to beat any other team. And I also think that's probably the most honest way of going about it, is to say that if you want to beat the Chiefs, you also have to be extremely good in your own right. I know that you'll get into some more of the specifics of this over the rest of the week up on the newsletter and find different things to hone back in on and zoom in at. But whenever you were watching in real time, and however much time you've gotten to spend on getting to look at a few other elements. There are a couple of position groups and individual performances I want to kind of get your thoughts on, and there are different metrics that have graded the Chiefs' offensive line in different ways. I think with at least what I saw in real time, it felt like they were played an okay game as a first unit working together all for the first time against a very good pass rush. Some moments looked like they might have been on Mahomes. Some moments the line itself could have played a little better. What did you make of the offensive line in general and their debut together?
It was interesting. I was keeping a pretty close eye on Orlando Brown throughout, and then when I rewatched the game, I kind of watched him a little closer. I would say he struggled more against Myles Garrett on rewatch than I thought he did live, which I think is a compliment.
Yeah,
because there was that big sack late, which I was as I looked at that. So the big sack that everyone noticed, right? That was on a 3rd down, where he gets hit and you got Niang's guy coming in, and it looked terrible. It looked like both tackles just got killed. Honestly, I think Mahomes, unlike the vast majority of other snaps that game, I don't think he stepped up like he was supposed to. And if you rewatch that particular snap, you'll see the very big difference in the angle between and the depth of where Niang's guy gets around the edge and Brown's guy gets around the edge, right? Brown's guy, Garrett, was probably about 2 yards deeper. And let me tell you, 2 yards, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That matters a ton.
Yeah.
And so I would put that as more of a tougher snack for Niang, especially considering he wasn't the one working against Myles Garrett. Overall, the interior of the line looked like it held up pretty well. And one thing, look, those edge rushers are good, and they had some problems with them. That was going to happen. I think you and I talked about that before the game, that we might be having a conversation trying to tell people to calm down about the tackles after the game. It's like, oh, my goodness, Myles Garrett really got Brown 4 or 5 times. Well, of course he did. I would say overall, I think Brown held his own with some areas that they could improve. But one thing that I really thought was interesting was this was a team with the type of pass rush that could be really problematic for the Chiefs in past years, even with Mitch Schwartz, because of the really talented edge guys and their inability to set a pocket on the interior. There was never anywhere to step up, right? So Mahomes would step way far back, and you'd see a lot more snaps like what you saw later in the game where he got sacked on 3rd down. I would say that it's encouraging that there weren't more of those. That basically snap after snap throughout a lot of the game, you saw Brown and Niang sending guys around the edge and Mahomes stepping up into a pretty clean pocket the majority of the time. And so I would say your brief analysis of it is pretty accurate. Like, I'd like to see some different angles. But overall, against a good front in some tough circumstances at times, I thought they overall did a pretty decent job as a unit. And I thought Brown held up fairly well against Myles Garrett. Now, again, that doesn't mean he didn't have, 4 or 5 or 6 even really bad losses. He did. But that's going to happen against Myles Garrett unless you're Trent Williams. And everyone knew when this trade happened that Trent Williams and Orlando Brown, they're not the same. And there's a reason why Brown was available for a first-round pick, and Trent Williams cost, $30 million a year or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So overall, I'm pretty encouraged by what I saw, especially considering, like you said, it's their first action. You have 3 rookies on the line, and the offensive line didn't strike me as a weak spot. In that circumstance, I count that as a win, and then we'll see if they can build on that moving forward.
This is going to sound like a leading question, but I just was thinking about this some yesterday, and I'm wondering where you would fall on it. Do you see us maybe moving the goalposts a little bit in the inverse way that you usually move goalposts in that phrase, to maybe saying, hey, they spent all this money, all these resources on this offensive line so Patrick Mahomes could operate a fully operational Death Star back there and have all the time in the world to captain it. Are we going to adjust on some level to simply, hey, this unit's not going to get Mahomes in trouble, or we're not afraid of this line breaking down or anything? What do you think is the fair expectation for this unit, and is it any different than it was 2 weeks ago, or even before training camp?
I don't think it's necessarily any different than it was 2 weeks ago. Once they committed to the idea of starting 3 rookies, even including, I think Creed Humphrey played really well, by the way. That's something I'm going to keep beating that drum. But there were mistakes from Smith and Niang more so than Humphrey, because again, Humphrey's just a stud. I think he's an excellent player. You're going to see some mistakes, and I think people expecting a top 5 offensive line out of the gate are going to be disappointed. That said, I don't think the goalpost should move. I think the goalpost really should be at this point that it's a solid offensive line, which I think they played like against the Browns, with the goal being by the time you get some continuity there to the middle and end of the year, now you're talking about a more upper tier line. That really should be the goal when you invest that much into your line. At the same time, if they end up just being a pretty good line, I'm still fine investing that much when you do have the whole Patrick Mahomes thing at stake. But people shouldn't lose sight that the goal wasn't to have a okay line or a line that'll get you by. The goal is to have a really good one.
I just think that's interesting. And again, not something that necessarily they had to be able to land the plan on in week 1. Just something that I'm going to keep an eye on and kind of figure out if we do make any adjustments on that. Let's talk about the defensive side, though, because obviously no Tyrann Mathieu, no Frank Clark, no Willie Gay Jr. It looked really rough for a while. They were able to make some plays late, specifically Chris Jones being just sort of an alien. I think the most interesting question for me, at least, and I asked Nate this on the podcast on Monday, which I guess was also yesterday. I could have just said yesterday. Anyway, I asked how many of the defensive issues immediately get solved with Tyrann Mathieu back on the field?
I mean, I think some of the defensive issues were specific to the Browns having a really good game plan, throwing out some stuff the Chiefs just weren't necessarily ready for. And so some of that might be, like, let's say the Ravens aren't similarly well prepared. Because, historically, while they've managed to put up some garbage time points, over the last several years, Lamar Jackson and that offense have not performed particularly well against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Now we'll see if that changes, right? Whereas the type of stuff that the Browns were doing has typically done fairly well. They were just doing a good job, and some of those things were just some flat-out, busted coverages and that kind of stuff. So the expectation would be that some of those busted coverages go away, right? The hope is that was a communication issue, and that'll be solved with the leader on the backside of your defense back. And I think that was always maybe one of the risks with, like, Bashaud Breeland being gone, who had the most seniority of everyone, and, Matthew being the loudest voice, all of a sudden he's out. On the flip side, it gave Thornhill a chance to step up, which is great to see. I wouldn't say immediately solved. I think some of the issues on defense that you saw in terms of some of the speed at the second level were there. But it's really hard to differentiate, one game sample size, yada, yada, yada. It's really hard to separate things that the Chiefs need to work on versus the things that the Browns are just really, really good at. They have an excellent offensive line. And they've got great running backs, and they do a really good job stretching the field in weird ways, right? Like with some of their play action and bootleg stuff. They really did a good job keeping the Chiefs off balance. And so you'll need another couple weeks to see, well, okay, does the Browns' offensive line bully them around too at a lot of points? Well, then that's worth keeping an eye on, right, to look for a pattern. As of right now, I think the ideal is a lot of some of the stuff you'd see was maybe more communication stuff, coaching up stuff, some of the things that they really do count more than people realize on Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark. And, people can talk about Frank Clark having an average year last year, which he did. He did not have a $25 million year last year. All of those things are true. But they do count on him more than people think. And so maybe you saw a little of that borne out as well.
Alejandro Villanueva looked terrible last night, so that's something that could be interesting for this upcoming week. I'll say this, man. I mean, I think that Andy Reid sounded pretty optimistic about Frank Clark yesterday. It's probably not fair for me to immediately put him in sort of Sammy Watkins territory, but this is a hamstring thing that started like pretty early on in training camp before any of the preseason games, and I feel like expecting him to play 100% of the snaps against the Ravens would be pretty foolish. But even just if I just allow you to get to talk about Chris Jones a little bit, and I don't know if you got to watch much of Monday Night Football, but Max Crosby looked like Derek Thomas, largely going up against Alejandro Villanueva, and that's a matchup that I would like to see.
Well, and I don't think either of the Ravens tackles played particularly well, and that's a problem for them. But yeah, Villanueva, I mean, he looked cooked, which is interesting because he's one of the guys, and this is why it's worth noting. People can say what they will. Oh man, the Chiefs gave up a first for Orlando Brown. Well, Villanueva, he was like one of the only options left, besides what they did or a rookie. And watching Brown have some struggles, yes, but really go blow for blow with Myles Garrett, and I think he did on a lot of snaps. Make sure you count how many snaps Garrett got pushed around wide and didn't affect the play at all, right?
Yeah.
Compare those two things, and I'm very curious what they are going to do about Chris Jones or Frank Clark. Clark, it's kind of a low-key thing, has had some of his best games as a Chief against the Ravens. And so maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. But I mean, Chris Jones looked spectacular. They were dedicating so much attention to him early in the game, just an unreasonable amount of attention anytime they were going to throw the ball. which is smart, right? That's what you do. And that's why you need, Jaron Reed had a nice spin and the pressure, but he wasn't being too loud. Warren and Saunders both had some moments, but they just didn't, they weren't applying a ton of pressure. That improved later on in the game, and Jones talked about that they were seeing some tells for pass, and they were a little thrown off by all the play action early. I'm curious what the Ravens are going to do, because they can't just leave Villanueva on Chris Jones. Like, they can't, because he's just way too good. Like, this is not, groundbreaking analysis I'm giving here, but Jones is just way, 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 way too good for that, and it will absolutely wreck parts of the game. Now, the thing worth noting is I don't know if Lamar Jackson will get sacked twice, because he's pretty slippery, but, so is Baker Mayfield. And it's not like Jones has never sacked Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And the way he was winning at times was so quick, it's just tough to get away. And it was cool watching him get one of his sacks coming around the edge with a great get-off.
Yeah.
Because now that's something that's on tape. And tackles, what happened there, what it looks like at least, is you had a tackle lunging to try to take some sort of horizontal set to kind of account for Jones's power. And because he just got off the line so fast, it just didn't matter. And I don't know what you do. I really don't. And I tweeted about that. I think you put like you lose.
Yes.
Something like that.
That's what I would do.
What do you do if you're a tackle?
That's what I would do there. I would simply get owned.
Yeah, I would simply be over. I am really curious what tackles are going to do. Like as an adjustment or whatever you want to call it. What specific answer do you have to his ability to have that kind of get off? And he doesn't always have that kind of get off. But knowing that he can, are you going to take the risk on a snap-by-snap basis that he might? Because that's not, you saw that. That it was literally, in some ways, a drive killer.
Yeah.
In that it set them so far behind the sticks, and that's just not how the Browns are meant to operate. And you can't do it like on first down, because it can set you so far behind the sticks that you can't ever come back again. And so I'm not sure what the answer is there.
Did you start having a sword fight?
No, I'm not having a sword fight. I'm outside kicking some metal stuff around and watching my wife drive away from me.
Oh God, that got dark at the end. Yikes! Is everything okay?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay, good.
Jazz needs to run to the dump.
It just sort of sounded like for a second like there might have been an implied, I'm watching my wife drive away from me with all the kids and all of our things. It just was, the tone in your voice was concerning. But
she's got a trailer in the back, and I'm gonna have a lot more time to do radio.
Just permanently. I heard the metal noises, and it sounded a little bit like maybe you had been attacked by an old-timey knight, or at least a squire or something. And I just wanted to make sure that wasn't happening.
Oh man, you know what? That would have made my day 100% better. That would have been fun.
Do you think you could hold your own in a sword fight against somebody that isn't necessarily they're not a professional fencer or anything, but you just an average person, roughly your same size, stature, etc.? How do you think you would fare in a sword fight?
Oh, I think I'd do beautifully in that situation. And not someone with any sort of training, kind of coming in the same place as me.
Well, yeah, and so here's the funny thing, is because I almost said, if you're going to basically go up against basically the same, just another version of yourself. The funny thing is, at that point, we should all admit that it's a total coin flip, but I think everyone wants to say, well, of course I would beat a perfect clone of myself. Of course I would win that one, because I'm me. I'm the main character.
Yeah, I'm the real me. I'm not the clone.
Right.
No, I think if it were someone, relatively similar to me but not me, I like my chances.
Yeah, I feel like you would have the way to beat you would also be the thing that would maybe be in your biggest favor. Is I think that if you get an excuse to just swing out some untapped rage, I think that could make you both unbeatable, and maybe it could be some Anakin, losing the high ground stuff. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd get a little distracted. I can tell you It's been a long time since I've had an excuse to really get angry.
Yeah.
And that might be at least interesting. But I would like to think that tested in that moment, Joshua, that I would turn the other cheek.
Well, I mean, that could end up with you getting like beheaded or something, and I don't want that to happen for you or for the radio show. Can you imagine? Welcome to
I can't actually.
A Tuesday edition of Almost Entirely Sports. Seth Keysor was beheaded in a sword fight this week, so we're gonna just talk amongst ourselves for 45 minutes or whatever, I guess. Then we'll move on. Like I think that we simply can't allow that.
Well, especially if you delivered the news that way. I mean, that would definitely not go over well.
No, that would be troubling, I think. All right, I'm just glad that there wasn't a sword fight breaking out. Anything else that leaped out at you either from that game or looking ahead to the Ravens, or do you want to just tell people that they can go read whatever you do next in the newsletter, and then we can let you go and figure out what your wife has left behind as she left you in the dust?
I would just say I am planning on taking a closer look at the line when I get a chance. I also want to take a closer look at Chris Jones in particular, because sometimes the obvious things are the things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those situations where if you were walking away from that game thinking, hey, without Chris Jones, the Chiefs probably lose that game, you're absolutely right. Now, again, there's always a chance that, Mahomes just flips it up to 12 instead of 11.
Right.
But we'll phrase it that way. He would have had to turn the dial up that much higher for the Chiefs to win. Because Chris Jones is he's just an animal. And he just does so much in terms of he makes everything so much easier for the offense than it would be without him there. His ability to single-handedly end plays and be the sole determining factor is one of the things that makes him unique. And the fact that he does it several times a game is something that I think Chiefs fans really take for granted and shouldn't, because it is truly a special, special thing that he's able to do. And that's something I really want to take a look at. I think I joked around a little, but not actually joking. When I was there at the game, I tweeted out this would be a great moment for Chris Jones to start his Defensive Player of the Year campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he had an impact on a run play immediately following that kind of forced it to redirect. But he'd also had his sack the play before, the drive before, that really helped start the beginning of the end. He is someone to keep an eye on. Like, I'm not kidding when I say he's going to be on the table for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have his best year as a pro, and I think he's going to be in the conversation.
Here, I thought of one more thing on the offensive side that I wanted to get your mindset on. So obviously this game was, in the passing game, it was Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to either Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. And that was pretty much it. Are you more of the mindset of, if you can win with your superstars, great, win with your superstars? Or are you a little bit nervous about the fact that this game happened with precious little from any of the other pass catchers?
I will worry about that when it looks worrisome.
Yeah.
For right now, I really think it's just a matter of they can't cover them.
Yep.
They can't do it. And now we've seen coaches with tremendous game plans and tremendous talent. And you need both.
Mm-hmm.
Can't just be one or the other. Be able to try to take Kelce and Hill out of the game and force someone else to beat them. But the number of times you run into that per year, it's just not very many.
Yeah.
And that includes, like, in the Super Bowl, it's not like Hill didn't have a chance to make some plays. It's not like Kelce didn't get open. It's that Mahomes was running for his life the entire time.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm not terribly worried about it. It was nice to see how great they were. Just a little confirmation, right, that the things that we expected to be great, hey, they're still great.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice to see. And so I'm going to I'm not worried about that. What I am more is excited about the prospect of Kelce and Hill and Mahomes getting mentioned in some of the same breath as some of the greatest trios in history because they deserve it.
Yeah, I think that's the right read on it. If there's a point where Hill and Kelsey are not getting open the entire game, or it's not working, then you need somebody else to be able to step up and do that. But I don't think it logically makes sense to force the ball to DeMarcus Robinson or McCole Hardman if Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelsey are there as your first or second options. Like I think it's okay to go to your best options. And yeah, somebody tweeted out, I think it might have been like Marcus Spears or somebody tweeted out, hey, no offense to the trio of great Cowboys, but this trio here of Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, they're coming for your stuff. And I would just like to say, copycat. Get your own material. If you want to compare this great unit of Chiefs to somebody, pick someone other than those 90s Cowboys, because that is my territory, and I'll get flamed on Twitter for those opinions. No one else has to.
That is your bit, and how dare someone even think about stealing it? It really is going to be interesting if they keep. I don't even know what the final stat line was with Hill. I know it was a lot.
197.
I don't know what even the final stat line was with. What about, did Kelsey get over 100 too?
No, Kelsey was 6 for 76, but 2 touchdowns. Hill was 11 for 197 and a touchdown. What was that?
And with Kelsey, it felt like every one of them was like a big first down too.
Yeah, pretty much. And there was one target he didn't catch, and yeah, everything else was basically either a big first down or a touchdown, which is again fine by me. Seth, thank you as always. I will set you free to continue your sword fight training. Whoop, go ahead. We've gotten the phone. I'm going to say this. Phone's gotten a little weird, especially later on here in our little chat. Delays have popped up that weren't there at the beginning. I'm not really sure what's going on. To Mississippi.
I'm not sure either. You know what? It's since we can't make this joke about preseason anymore. It's early in the season for us too. We'll get there.
We'll figure it out. And if we don't, I don't know. What else have people come to expect from this show? You expect us to be a perfectly produced, quintessential, delay-free setup? I feel like you need to recalibrate your expectations for Almost Entirely Sports. Thank you, Seth.
Thanks for having me.
Yes! Perfect. That's it. Go to break.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
When you have chronic joint pain, it affects your entire life.
I stopped playing golf. I stopped hiking. It just became impossible to do so.
Meet Brad Woody.
I needed 2 knee replacements. Both of mine were bone on bone. Any sitting position to a standing position was extremely painful.
Doctors talked about surgery and, of course, pain meds as a solution.
There's basically pat you on the back and say, good luck. Here's a prescription for pain pills.
But then Woody discovered QC Kinetics. With their natural biologic therapies, restorative, regenerative treatments that encourage your body to repair and restore damaged tissue, the results, amazing.
One day, leaving the office, I was like, oh, hold on here. Something's different. My knees don't hurt.
Today, Woody's hiking, hunting, and golfing with his kids again, thanks to QC Kinetics.
It's just great to be active again.
Looking for lasting pain relief? Call QC Kinetics now to learn more.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics, 412-6299.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables. You can wear a mask if you want, or not. It's your choice. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
Spectrum Brands, the leading supplier of hardware and home improvement, is looking for workers at their local warehouse in Edgerton, Kansas, right off I-35. You'll receive day one benefits, 12 paid holidays, and become part of a culture that we love, made up of the right people, a diverse group of people with varied backgrounds. Spectrum Brands is hiring for warehouse workers $16 per hour and equipment operators $17 per hour. Must have 6 months recent reach truck or order picker experience to be an equipment operator. Apply today at spectrumbrands.com/careers. That's spectrumbrands.com/careers. Turn your job into a career with Spectrum Brands.
Installing a custom fire pit is straightforward when you've put in as many as Complete Home Concepts has. It doesn't have to take months or be a big hassle. Visit our showroom for stunning fire pit styles. Talk to our experts about your space. We'll take it from there. So send out the invites and stock up on the marshmallows. Make this a fall to remember. Call us at 816-471-HOME, 816-471-HOME, or visit us online at CompleteHomeConcepts.com.
If you're having trouble getting or maintaining an erection, or both, call the Kansas City Men's Clinic. Why? Their Missouri-licensed physicians are experts at solving ED. It's what they do all day, every day. Solve men's ED, regardless of age or medical condition. Call the Kansas City Men's Clinic today and schedule your confidential consultation. Now only $49. Call 816-608-8189. That's 816-608-8189. Or go to thekansascitymensclinic.com.
Hear exclusive Chiefs coverage every week from the best in the business. Only on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Trent Green, Adam Schefter, Tim Grunhard, Adam Teicher, Matt Derrick, Adam Kaplan, Chef Shadia, Nick Leckie, Gary Barnett, Sam Mellinger, Bill Moss, Mark Bowrichter, Stan Weber, Sam McDowell, Seth Keysor, Blair Kirchhoff, Kevin Harlan, Field Yates, Jesse Newell, Cynthia Freeland, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
From the backyard to the big screen, pair this year's tailgate with Tito's handmade vodka. Fill your roster with a bottle of the good stuff and enjoy garnishes to last till halftime. Then snag your favorite seat on the couch with an ice-cold Tito's cocktail in hand. In our playbook, that means you're a winner before the game even starts. For game day recipes, gear, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Warm weather is here, so plan now to keep those bugs out with Augustine Exterminators. This is Stephen St. John, and now's the time to establish and or maintain a barrier around your house. Don't let it break down. At Augustine, they have you covered. Augustine Exterminators is family owned and locally operated since 1966. All of their techs are certified in both Missouri and Kansas. They are a Quality Pro and Green Pro company. Augustine Exterminators also does carpet, rug, air duct, and tile cleaning. Keep mosquitoes away all summer long. For an average-sized yard, it's only $80 a month with Augustine Exterminators. That's right, just $80 a month. Shop and buy local with Augustine Exterminators. Call Augustine Exterminators today at 913-359-8627 or go online at AugustineExterminators.com. That's AugustineExterminators.com or 913-359-8627.
Outdoor grilling season is here. Whether you need to upgrade your cooker, grab your new accessories, or just reload on the rubs, get to the Kansas City Barbecue store today. With a great staff that can help an experienced pitmaster or a weekend warrior just looking to fire up his grill for the family. Come check out the true one-stop shop for your summer barbecue at KC Barbecue Store at 119th and Straight Line in Olathe.
A KC tradition since 1957 and voted the best steak in Kansas City, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. Go to HerefordHouse.com for hours, new menu items, and to make your reservations. Follow Hereford House on Facebook and Instagram for exclusive specials. Hereford House, voted Kansas City's favorite steakhouse.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Dear God, if you can hear me, hi, it's me. If you can hear me right now, if you could do something to have the Chargers hire Jason Garrett as their head coach, I would really appreciate that. Because I just think we all need a laugh sometimes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Wrapping things up here on tonight's show. Thanks again to Seth Keysor for joining us from the Chiefs of the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Ours podcast. A lot of things that we've obviously talked about right there and that we've talked about over the course of the show today. And one thing that we touched on right towards the end there that I don't know, maybe at this point nearly belaboring the point. And even as, people ask about John Brown, Josh Gordon, sounds like he's on his way back into the NFL. In terms of the Chiefs' third or fourth pass catcher, and specifically what we talked about with Seth just a little bit ago in terms of this game against the Browns, I'm kind of two minds on a couple of things. First of all is, again, that I don't think that you should feel any sort of guilt or concern about Tyreek Hill going 11 for 197 and a touchdown and Travis Kelce going 6 for 76 and 2 touchdowns. Because it's not like there was any point over the course of this game where it felt like those two guys were not able to get whatever they wanted, or that Patrick Mahomes didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. That was never the issue. Whenever that is the issue, that's whenever you're going to see him ultimately going to Clyde more, Hardman more, Demarcus Robinson more, Byron Pringle more, whatever it may be. But I don't want Patrick Mahomes, if anything, I don't want him to force the ball ever, but if anything, I'd much rather him force it to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce because of what those guys can do after the catch, what they can do to secure the catch, etc., as opposed to certainly not wanting them to force it to any of those other guys that I just mentioned. On the other hand, it was a lot of fun with an asterisk watching both the Cowboys and the Buccaneers back on Thursday Night Football, because those are a couple of teams whose weapons go at least 3 deep. The Bucs in particular, they have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. And I would love for the Chiefs to have just a third weapon, like let's say Josh Gordon looked like his old self, which again we haven't seen in a long time. I'm not saying he would. Same for Josh Brown, whoever. Any Josh, basically. Just put a Josh out there. There's no guarantee that any of those guys are going to be needle movers, but I would really love, and I talked about this plenty this offseason as well, I would really love a chance to see this offense have a third weapon that just makes them totally uncoverable. We know the Chiefs wanted to do that with Sammy Watkins as well. Injuries happened, and now we're here. It'll be something worth keeping an eye on as this season continues on. But don't feel bad whenever Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are the rightful centers of this offense. That's going to do it for tonight's show. It's also actually going to do it for Almost Entirely Sports this week. We got a lot of other football action and some football action on 8-10 the remainder of this week. So we should talk to you again on Sports Saturday. Expect to have a show Saturday morning. And then again, right before and immediately after Chiefs versus Ravens, I will talk to you plenty right after the game right here on Sports Radio 810. Until then, bye, Mom.